And here we are in 2020. Sadly, it's not where we planned to be, but we're here for you. We hope we entertain you this weekend. We're going to do our best. For those that may have tuned in just after the intro, this whole HallowCon is dedicated to Nicole Hargett. Sorry. We knew her as Nova. We lost her to COVID back. Sorry. But Nicole, this is for you. All right. Let's go ahead and bring my guest in to help me out here. This is KT Hunter, one of our popular guests.
Hello.
And Brian K. Morris, the great Brian K. Morris, who has the next panel just after this. Sorry, guys.
Don't be.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah. And I want to thank you guys for being here. We were supposed to have a special guest coming in. I will announce it now. It is a representative of StreamYard.
Great.
Serious? Wow.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Dang.
So they're going to be here, and once they come in, I'll actually put the Powered by StreamYard logo up just for them. Yeah. But for right now, I'll go ahead and add our little Reaper guy. Oh, let me do something different. I forgot Skunk made this for us.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good.
So we're live and all that. Guys, I want to thank you. KT, you're an author, correct?
Mm-hmm, correct.
And you have interspersed 60 trivia questions to be played throughout the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Little video clips. And then, Brian, you do what? Almost
Nobody
as much.
knows. Nobody knows.
I don't know how many hours you do as live broadcasting through StreamYard. You do 6 hours plus another?
Actually, close to 8. I have my 2 hours Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Nevermind the Furthermore.
Okay.
10 a.m. Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Central. # always promote. And Tuesday nights, 2 hours on Clever Title Pending. That's on at 8 p.m. And then tonight we're doing another special Clever Title Pending with Chicago-based illusionist Master Ron Fitzgerald, the master of dark, sticky magic.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
And Jeffrey Hayes is in the room watching in. Welcome, Jeffrey Hayes. Jeff has made us some little drop-in graphics. That'll be great.
Great.
Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
Yes. That's why I'm so glad you're here, Brian, because you're that quick on the spot.
Get the power strip out. We got plugs to do here.
Oh yeah. You plug away.
I've got my Viking helmet ready, so let's go.
Cool. And
I have some recommended reading. Oh.
Yeah. That's the next panel, Brian.
Excellent, KT. Way to go.
I'm ready.
You are.
Well I'm done. Sorry, I gotta adjust my jacket here. KT
you look
remembers.
Very dapper. You look very dapper.
KT remembers last year how I entered into HallowCon.
Oh, it was awesome. The opening number where you sang it was from The Greatest Showman?
Yeah, I did the opening number of The Greatest Showman.
Oh, it was awesome. I was just bowled over. You did a great job with that. So
cane twirls.
Mm-hmm. Everything. I really enjoyed it. It was completely unexpected too. So it was good. But we need you. I mean, as the person just commented, you're the ringleader. We have our own kind of circus. So
yeah, it's a circus, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Let me go ahead and bring in the production crew. We've got Heather, known as Mind Twist, who has her mic muted. And then John, who has his mic muted.
Well, I was over talking to the green room people. So
yeah, you're taking care of green room. John's monitoring the green room.
I didn't want my background noise coming in while you guys were taking care of business.
Yeah, I told Mark. I told Mark Hamill to go home. We don't need him.
Yeah. Thank you. I saw him pop into the
he's
down there, but we got him.
No Star Wars shenanigans.
Yeah, really. It's like he keeps telling us how he would have done the last 3 sequels, and just it really gets boring.
Yeah.
Anyway,
now, Brian, how did you like that opening intro that we did?
That was swank. That was really, really nice. And one thing that hit me while I was watching this, I got a really good sense of the history of HallowCon that I think is important, something that we're honoring this weekend in our own ways. But also it reminded me that there's more than just like the first 32 bars of the funeral dirge.
Yeah. And I don't know if you noticed in the background the artwork that was coming up.
Yes, nicely done. Now, who do we credit for that?
Skunk actually made the video. Dan mixed the audio. Skunk laid in the video, and it was my idea.
Should we use Skunk's real name for that, or should we just keep calling him Skunk?
His real name is Kyle Guthrie.
Yeah, so if anybody's looking for him, like he owes you money, his name is Kyle Guthrie. And or if you want to send him some business, because he does graphics and video and stuff like that, and makes, he does wresling too. He does video production for wrestling,
local pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to bring Brian up full circle or to the center, and hit you with my favorite 3 questions to start it out. Who are you? What do you do? And how the heck did you end up on this show?
I am Brian K. Morris of Rising Tide Publications, risingtide.pub. Who am I? What do I do? I am a writer, and I'm an independent publisher, freelance hybrid writer, award-winning playwright, and former mortician's assistant. And we have a number of publications out in comics and in books, and also I am a internet broadcaster on YouTube and on Facebook with my interactive morning talk show with called Nevermind the Furthermore at 10 a.m., 9 a.m. Central Time. Always promote. And Tuesday evenings, I do another show called Clever Tile Pending, where we talk about creativity and the business behind it. We interview all kinds of cool people. And we're having, like I said earlier, a special edition tonight at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to be interviewing the former mayor of hell himself, Master Ron Fitzgerald, the master of dark, sticky, gothic illusions. So it's going to be a fun show. We welcome your questions. And how I got here, they found me in the street. I belong to anyone for the price of a drink.
Oh, boy.
No, I was invited.
It's an old-fashioned Coke. That's the only drink that I'll take nowadays.
And KT, how?
Hi there. How are you doing?
Same 3 questions.
Same 3 questions.
What do you do? And how the heck did you wind up on this show?
Okay. Who am I? I am KT Hunter. I am a science fiction author / housewife. And so far, I've got 2 books under my name, both for the Nemo Paradox series and working on the 3rd one. They're kind of a mishmash between, I was about to say Orson Welles, but that's not right. H.G. Wells and Jules Verne kind of follow-ups to War of the Worlds and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. So that's what I've got going. Why am I here? I am the resident author, as Joe has entitled me over the past couple of years. We've been coming to HallowCon, at least 7 years now. I think it was before I published my book. My husband, T.D. Ralphson, who will be with us later this evening, he has to finish his workday. Right now, he's a fantasy author. We will be working together this evening to run the game that we have been running a couple of years now called The Oracle at Delphi. That will be from 8 to 10 o'clock this evening. It's a really fun game that usually gets a lot of laughs and gets pretty rowdy. So welcome everyone to come and join us. And if you would like to be on the Oracle panel, I have 3 people so far, and the more the merrier. Just shoot me a message and we'd be glad to include you. Usually it gets crazier because what happens is someone asks a question, and it can be any question. We've had some really weird ones in the past, but that's okay. It's for the Oracle. And the panel answers it one word at a time. And some of the ad lib answers they come up with can get pretty crazy. So we have a lot of fun. And that's one of the things that TD and I do here. And hopefully you'll meet him then.
All right.
Okay, thanks.
Back down. I'm going to throw this up real quick. We got a Mers99 saying hello from the land of Twitch. And then Carl Witzman says he loves your background, KT.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this is an actual background. It's not digital. This goes with, I actually bought it from Amazon, but it matches my book. This is the engine room of the Thunderchild's Fury.
All right.
So,
well, guess what? Our special guest is here. I want to welcome Kelsey Bentz from StreamYard.
Hi.
hello.
It's so good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, we love you. And just because you're here, we're going to throw up the StreamYard logo for you.
Yay! Woohoo!
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, why does it have a cyber mallard?
That's the StreamYard mascot, StreamYard logo.
Yeah, well, is there a reason that there's a duck?
As far as I know, the founders created that because it's kind of a play on the word stream, like ducks swim in streams, and so
Duck in a stream.
StreamYard, the duck,
I
has
get
to be
that
the
one.
mascot, right?
I was wondering.
Yeah.
Okay, now we know.
And yeah, we love StreamYard. I discovered StreamYard from a user. His show was broadcast. He was broadcasting using StreamYard, and we discovered it. And I started out with a free account, and our first show was 4.5 hours long.
Oh my gosh.
And he was so impressed with StreamYard, he went ahead and got the full
service
account.
Yay!
Yeah.
Upgraded to the basic, then upgraded to the pro. We're actually running pro. We're broadcasting to 5 channels right now.
Oh, what are all the channels?
Our HallowCon Facebook page. We've got 3 HallowCon Facebook pages.
Okay.
We're going to YouTube and Twitch.
Nice.
And then when any of my guests this weekend come in, if they've got a Facebook page, group page, we're going to broadcast their panel through their channel too.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
A couple, because you can get the 8 channels in the service. So yeah, we love it. Of course, last night during our show, we discovered a StreamYard bug.
Oh no! Tell me about it.
Well, no, it's a fun bug.
It's a fun one.
It's a good bug.
They were playing with it for like 45 minutes.
Oh yeah, we had a blast with it.
Okay.
Tell me about
it. The blue screen.
Now, I'm actually showing it to you. My microphone is blue.
What?
Oh.
You can change the blue screen, green screen effect, and it will change blue colors to green and green colors to blue.
Oh my
If you
god!
bring
You
it
gotta
all
turn
the
the
way
visibility all the way down to
Yeah,
zero.
if you turn it to 0, this is a Mountain Dew now.
And now it's
Okay.
So you have the green screen feature
This
enabled.
is the green.
At
This is the
0%.
green blue diamond bag for my almond.
Yeah.
Now,
we were
let
having
me
a
see.
blast with this.
I'm going to
Oh
go
my
down.
gosh.
Oh wait, wrong button. I'm going to go down and change it on the green screen effect.
Yeah.
Okay, now let me see here.
Yeah,
I will
there it
change
goes.
it back to blue. It's set for green right now. I'm going to change it to blue right now.
Oh, nice.
It's
Whoa!
magic.
That is magic. That's so funny. I have not heard about that before.
Well, you have now.
I have now. You learn something new every day.
Yeah.
The power of Mountain Dew.
The power of
Wow.
so that's just
I look
we
green.
discovered that.
I changed it to green screen. I look green now. What is change that?
That's that's how much we play with StreamYard. We use it for hours. I'm going to be running for hours upon hours this weekend. I've learned how you can shut off streams to different channels to reset, which is a great, beautiful feature. That way I don't have, when I've got all my guests, I can give them one link.
Right.
So they can come in and out. and not have to send your links this, but your links this, and your links that. No, we can just boom, change it. So
one of the other wonderful things I love about StreamYard, and this is something I'm going to give you guys kudos for. You do not have to download any software to run this. It's all internet driven. I mean, and that right there, that makes things so much easier for people because they don't have to figure out if their computer can run the program or upgrade to this or have this processor or this camera or anything. Right. It just runs.
Yeah, we like to say that you can literally run StreamYard with whatever you have. Like you can do it on a Chromebook, you can do it on your phone, on an iPad, on a tablet. It is easy.
Everyone in my family loves the high-end video games. Mm-hmm. And it's like, hey, there's this new first-person shooter game out. You're just going to have to spend $5,000 to upgrade your computer to play it.
Right.
And
I'm
also,
like, yeah, that doesn't sound like something I'm in. I'm going to go out back and grill steaks while you're trying to figure out how to pay for a video processor.
Now, also, the guy sitting right next to you, Brian K. Morris, also uses StreamYard for his broadcast. He does.
Hi, how you doing?
He does Never Mind the Furthermore at 10 o'clock Eastern every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Yeah, that looks awesome.
Thank you.
He uses, I mean,
clever title.
He could not do his Never Mind the Furthermore without StreamYard.
No, that's true. I've got to join in the chorus if I can to praise StreamYard. One thing I like about it, as opposed to a lot of, I've tried other video systems to put on my shows, usually leaving me with a feeling that I need to stop broadcasting because it doesn't talk with the various platforms, whereas StreamYard does. And on my show, I actually don't hold these up anymore because I have the images fed into the library there, and I can just call them up at will and run videos. And I put up a lot of little jokes and things to make up for my my ongoing ineptitude with any sort of computer system. But I agree with John. It's nice to have a system that the computer can talk to directly. The learning curve is minimal. I mean, I started playing around with the buttons, and within 10 minutes, I felt comfortable enough to be able to put on a show. And I love the reach of it. So yeah, StreamYard is the way to go. And I recommend it to all my friends who are doing virtual cons right now.
Thank you so much. That's so nice to hear because we really do at StreamYard, like we value the ease of use. And we always say that, you can really from the time you sign up to the first time you go live, you can do it within minutes. So it's nice to hear that that is a reality for you.
Yeah. And one other thing I want to point out, unlike other services online, every time I get a memo from one of them, it's like, here's how we're downgrading your service. Every time I get one from you guys, it's like, here's this new improvement we've got, and here's how we've made it better. And I'm like, if that's if that's the way to run a company, I think more companies should do that. But I applaud StreamYard for just making this easier and more versatile, even with the free level.
Oh, so, thank you.
Even the free level. And Facebook user who they need to actually go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and grant the permission so your name can show up into the thing. They say StreamYard is super good, it's simple, and it just works.
Definitely.
I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, the founders, Gage and Dan, they're always looking for how to improve the product, and that's what makes me really believe in StreamYard as a product. Just because I know that the team is really focused on the user experience and how to make it always improving, the ease of use for the customers. So I know that they spend a lot of time kind of collaborating to figure out what the most needed improvement is. And then, they work really hard to implement it.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
If there's one thing I can recommend is when you do the share screen to share audio for applications.
I know.
Is that the one thing that y'all's biggest request?
We do get get that request a lot, and I totally understand when I stream as well. Like it can be annoying to have to bring it into the Chrome tab and do the share audio that way. I think that the founders are definitely aware of that, and they're working on it. As far as I know, it's a browser limitation. Like Google Chrome has a hard time actually accessing the application, so they're trying to figure out a way to like get Chrome to be able to recognize the audio from other app windows.
All right.
So hopefully that'll be added soon. I would really like it.
Yeah.
Happy Halloween, John.
Yeah. Is that somebody you know, or is that just somebody?
No.
Okay.
Just saw the comment.
Okay. But I think I know who that is. Okay. Yeah, I know who that is. That's the husband of one of our guests for Sunday. So.
Oh.
Well, thanks for tuning in. But yeah. Thank you, Kelsey, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We're just letting you know that we're going to run for 49 hours using StreamYard.
That is so cool.
Working shifts and everything.
Oh my gosh. And that's this weekend?
That's this weekend.
When do you guys start?
As of 24 minutes and 33 seconds ago.
This is it right now.
You're live.
Oh my gosh. How
in our
exciting.
virtual convention.
Yeah, you're part of a virtual convention.
And going all the way through the weekend.
As far as we know, this may be the actual first virtual sci-fi convention.
It might be.
We haven't seen anyone else doing anything.
As far as I know, you are the trailblazers.
Yeah. Woohoo! and the way we're doing it, we could not do it without StreamYard, but it's our instead of being an interview like this, Brian's going to be doing a panel at 4:00, and it will be him doing the panel from where he's sitting, and he's actually got a video to start it. I've got it queued up, ready to go. And when he does his panel, it'll just be him, and we're going to run his video. Then he'll come back and answer questions.
I have a question about that, Joe.
Yeah.
Is that going to be on this main screen, or is he going to have his own screen for that?
It'll be on this main screen, and he'll be watching from what they call backstage, from down below, and then he'll just be taking notes of questions. And if Brian, you just let me know over in the private chat which ones you want brought up, and I'll bring them up for you.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
And I want to tell Kelsey, I've actually got 2 StreamYard feeds going at the same time right now. I'm watching the green room, and we've got a guest in the green room right now who's watching this feed.
Mm-hmm.
Hi. Okay, we haven't forgotten about you, by the way. And I think it's wonderful that StreamYard doesn't use so much video, that you can do something like that. You can actually have multiple feeds going up on one computer.
Yes.
And I've got one minimized screen off the side. The only problem with that is I can't see the comments. I wish I could move. I wish you could detach the comment screen and put it someplace else. But
that would actually be cool. Yeah. Kind of like, I know that other products do that when you can kind of move it around. Yeah. That's a good feature request. I'll let the team know about that.
Oh, and another feature request is organizing your preloaded videos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like to drag and drop them.
Yeah, to drag it. Yeah, like you do the banners. Like you can move the banners around, which makes it a lot simpler for me. If you could do that with videos, it would lock.
Because that would let you set them up for the order you want to play them for a certain show.
Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But
I agree.
But again, we love StreamYard, and if it wasn't for StreamYard, this would have been our 18th year of doing an in-person convention if we had.
Wow.
If it wasn't for StreamYard, it wouldn't have happened.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, everybody'd be sitting here going, well, there was supposed to be a convention this weekend.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
And actually at 10 o'clock tonight, we're going to have a live band.
No way.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. Wow.
Well, tune in. You know where we're at.
Yeah, I sure will. That's very cool.
We're friends.
Yeah,
you are more than welcome to record this show and use it for your StreamYard advertisements.
Nice.
If you like our favorites.
Yeah, the band will be at 10 o'clock Eastern time. It's HallowCon online YouTube.
Okay.
HallowCon online, and we'll probably be the only live HallowCon on YouTube tonight. HallowCon.
We better be.
Yeah. HallowCon. It's all one word, HallowCon online on Twitch, and then our 3 Facebook pages. Just look up HallowCon.
Okay, will do. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
So how long is everyone's shifts? I know this is going for 2 days. Are you all staying up for 2 days straight, or pretty much? Brian says absolutely not.
No,
well, when it's HallowCon, we are all usually up anyway, but for other reasons. It's when it's a normal con.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're the con that never sleeps, pretty much. We pretty much run 24,
probably 20 hours a day, give or take.
Yeah.
Everyone just has to go to bed.
At least 20 hours of something going on.
That is so impressive.
And then I sleep for the next 3 days.
Right. Just to make up for it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's so great.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in. We're so grateful that y'all now know about us, and holler at me. Oh, sorry. I just hit the microphone again. I'm sorry. Holler at me if y'all have any questions on how I've done this or what we're doing. If I got any feedback for you, and I would love to become involved with StreamYard in one way or another.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I will definitely. It was so great to come on the show. Don't forget about Armchair Rocket Science.
That is our.
That's one of our other StreamYard feeds.
That's one of our other shows. We actually stream the SpaceX launches, the NASA launches.
No way.
The Rocket Lab launches.
The testing going on in Boca Chica.
Whoa. That's so cool. That's so cool.
Which, strange enough, apparently they don't get to see that stuff in the Philippines. And we had a huge crowd from the Philippines watching the rocket launches on StreamYard.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's
and
really
one
cool.
of the funny things
We're
was
one of the few people that's doing this to Facebook. All the space stuff goes on YouTube.
Got it.
We've got it going on Facebook.
Apparently they're having trouble getting to some of the feeds in the United States, like NASA or SpaceX or some. I don't know if their government has got it blocked or whatever.
Yeah.
But we were it.
Wow.
Yeah, Geek Insider is another heavy user of StreamYard.
Oh.
Brian's part of the Geek Insider Network.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me on. It was great to join you guys, and thanks for all the kind words about StreamYard. It's really great to hear and see people like using StreamYard to its capacity. It's amazing.
I'm a firm believer in the Montgomery Scott method of engineering. Test it to destruction, and then when you write up the manual, underestimate everything about 40% because they're going to push it 20.
Perfect.
So we are going to push StreamYard to its limit this weekend.
That sounds good. And if you need anything, I'm always in the tech support chat. So that's where you can find me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was great to meet y'all.
You too.
Kelsey.
Come back.
Nice meeting you.
Have a great HallowCon. Is that what it's called?
Yes,
HallowCon. Yeah. Have a great HallowCon and happy Halloween.
You too.
Happy Halloween to you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
There she goes.
Okay, there we go. All right.
I was worried we'd have to tell her which button she have to push to get out of here.
That would be embarrassing that she's going, what button do I put behind?
All right, I'm back. It's easier. It looks nicer with 6. So that's why I kept hopping in and out.
Yeah. That is so cool that she could come. She's so nice.
Seriously, yeah, that was great.
Yeah, that was neat.
And good on you guys for getting her too.
That was a hit for sure.
It's a shame we can't get like somebody from SpaceX or Rocket Labs or something.
Oh,
yeah.
Eventually it will be.
Yeah.
Woo.
Sorry, my mic was muted. I was going to say, do you want me to fix that?
Yeah.
My mic, they're mowing my grass and they're coming through with the leaf
With a
blower and all.
scave? At least they're doing it in costume. That's kind of cool. Oh, that's the HallowCon logo. I thought that was your grass mower. I'm sorry.
No, I was pointing at this because I was like, "Do you want me to change it?" And then I was like, "My mic is muted." So I go to click it, and then Joe fixed it.
I do that all the time.
Heather, next time, don't ask.
Just do. Okay.
Yeah.
We can fix it later. Remember, it's easier to ask forgiveness than it is to ask permission.
Mm-hmm.
And usually I'll see what you've done and go, oh, thank you. But yeah, right now there's 16 listed in the room. While she was here, it was up to almost 20 at one time.
Cool.
Nice.
I meant to point this out to her. I love how you can mouse over the number of people in the room and know where they're at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got 7 on the HallowCon, the main HallowCon page. We've got 2 from Twitch, 2 from the HallowCon group page, and 4 from YouTube.
Yeah. That's useful to know. That really is.
Gives you numbers that you can give people.
Mm-hmm.
And I do, because I'm keeping track of those numbers right now with my own shows and starting to attract potential advertisers.
Great.
That's actually an amazing step.
And Ruth goes, that's the Joe Dog way. Just do it if it needs doing. Oh,
if you've ever worked at a science fiction convention, that is exactly what makes a science fiction.
That was me.
Oh, that was you? Okay, I thought it was the StreamYard dump again.
No, because I posted it in the bottom, it went everywhere.
Yeah, it splatters everywhere.
Yeah, that might have been something else we needed to talk to Kelsey about, is the dump of comments that occasionally happens. Because I think because I'm usually behind in my comments because I read most everything that people type, and then all of a sudden I'm talking. Okay, I'm gonna hit that next one, and you click on it. Next thing you know, bam! Suddenly there's this massive 20 minutes worth of comments that people have typed to you. That
I don't think that's a StreamYard problem. I think that's from the other sites problem, because I'd be willing to bet that's Facebook or YouTube dumping all that stuff in.
Yeah, I generally get it from YouTube usually.
Really?
Yeah, or at least on mine I do. Oh, and
I
I
was
gotta say
talking
hi,
about
honey.
Yeah.
Carly posted that it popped up with a 404.
Love you.
It might be because it was tied to my profile.
That would do it.
But yeah, StreamYard.com/Facebook for anybody who's on Facebook. And what it'll do is it asks permission, and it'll change where it says Facebook user to where we can actually see who's commenting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy as one button now. They fixed it.
It's something. What is it? You got to give permission for StreamYard to see your Facebook account,
right?
Which allows it. Basically, all it does is take your name and your picture off of your Facebook account and put it here so that we can see who's commenting.
Right, but once you do it, you're done. You're done forever.
If you don't give it permission, we get to see Facebook user says, and
and then your name.
We can just attribute it to different people, that aren't here. Hey, Abraham Lincoln, thank you for being with us today. I know things have been rough, but hey.
Oh, Patrick Stewart, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, really, yeah. Mark Hamill, get out of here. We're tired of you.
Yeah.
Haven't done anything since Corvette Summer.
Really, no kidding. Hey, at least Annie Potts showed up and gave a great interview. Okay, about Corvette Summer. Right?
That's true. That's true.
This is one of our regular members just posted she just got out of open heart surgery.
Wow. Well, hope you're feeling better, Heather.
And we do have another user who randomly posted on a link that I posted, so you can't see it here. Our buddy John Pica is actually back in the hospital from COVID-related illness.
Yeah.
He has bilateral blood clots in his lungs.
Oh no! Yeah, we mentioned on my show this morning that he had gone back to the ER. Get well, John. Fight it, man.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah,
I'm saving you a candy bar, John. Okay.
We're trying. Glad you're here. That's one of our regulars that drops in every now and then. And Brian, you were talking about the full moon on the Halloween hadn't happened in a while, and the blue moon happens every few thousand years.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I couldn't remember the numbers this morning.
Yeah, it's thousands of years before it happened. This was going to be the biggest HallowCon ever.
It had so much going for it.
Yeah,
it still does, because we got like a flag and and a Cheeto in the White House, and all sorts of
murder hornets are still
all
around.
sorts of horror-related events going on.
That's true. That's true.
You got the Crypt Keeper running Congress, and you got
and you've got the Murder Hornets. That's a sci-fi movie.
Murder Hornets, and
and what they used to eradicate them, that was sci-fi.
No, that looked like some sort of like 2001: Space Odyssey kind of thing.
I was thinking Andromeda Strain.
I love the fact they went in and found the nest in the tree. They saran wrapped the entire darn tree. And
oh my goodness.
And I'm like, well, I was thinking, can a bug eat through saran wrap? I mean, is that
maybe a special saran wrap?
Carpenter bees will eat through paper tape. I will tell you that.
Oh yeah, they'll eat through everything. They can eat through duct tape.
We have squirrels, chipmunks, and rats that'll eat through the side of a plastic trash can. I mean, I'm pretty sure saran wrap isn't going to stop a 2-inch long hornet.
Yeah.
Well, you get enough on there, they'll just give up.
True.
Here's the real life science you can use, kids. Write it down.
Because I am a firm believer in the Sigourney Weaver method of bug control. Nuke the entire site for orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
I'll sign off on that.
Nukes, knives, sharp sticks, plasma rifle in a 40-watt range.
There you go.
Yeah.
Get away from that high view. Oh, I'm sorry. We're not going to use that language here. Sorry.
10mm high explosive armor piercing. And a pump action grenade launcher.
Only what you see on the wall, buddy.
That's right.
True.
Carl says we would never have heard of HallowCon or been able to attend if it hadn't been for virtual. Hope this word gets out for you nationally.
That is one of the cool things about a virtual convention.
We can.
Heather and Blake are up near Nashville.
And I wouldn't have been able to attend this year because it's not been 2 weeks since I have been out of a hospital clinical. I'm still in quarantine.
She's a nursing student. Heather's a nursing student.
Right.
Yeah.
And Brian, you're in Illinois?
No, I'm in almost northwest Indiana.
Indiana, okay.
I'm in Lafayette, Indiana, about an hour northwest of Indianapolis. So
you're in Mennonite country almost.
Pretty much.
You're upwind of the nerve gas.
Yes, I am. Although I did live very close to it at one point when I did live in Illinois. So
I had to go to a wedding up there one time, and as I'm staying at the wedding guest house and stuff like that, and they had like duct tape and plastic everywhere, and I was like, and they were like, oh, that's in case the nerve gas leaks out of the chemical destruction plant.
Yeah, I attended a wedding years ago. In fact, that's where I met my wife, and I kept thinking I am like 8 miles away from Armageddon. So. Yeah.
And then what's funny is right after that, my National Guard unit went down to Fort McClellan in Alabama.
Yeah,
which is right outside Anniston. There's only 3 places in the country where they can dispose of chemical weapons. One of them's up there near Indianapolis. One of them's down here at Anniston Army Depot. And I think the other one's Hawaii or something. Yeah, Guam or Hawaii. I can't remember.
Yeah. Probably Guam.
And we're not far from Anniston either.
No, we're not. If the zombie apocalypse starts, chances are it's Anniston Army Depot. I'm just saying that right now.
Well, I mean, you guys are also smack dab in the middle of 2 nuclear power plants.
I live 2 miles from one. It's right across the river.
But the glow is so pretty at Christmas.
Yeah. Maybe you'll get
Hey,
superpowers.
watching Chernobyl was a real eye opener. I never really worried about it till I watched the Chernobyl miniseries, and now I'm like constantly looking for the radiation that lights up the sky above it. Just keep watching for it.
Yeah.
So far, nothing. So far, so good.
You know,
Yeah.
if I owned Sequoia nuclear plant, I would put spotlights in the cooling towers. Just to mess with you.
And little smoke generators. Yeah.
Well, they already generate steam.
That's true. Yeah, but amp it
Make
up a
the
little.
make the
There and shoot them up out of the cooling
Big
tower.
old green.
green
They'd have to be
spotlight.
green lights. Yeah, they'd
They
have to be
do
green.
an alarm test once a month on the first Wednesday of every month at noon. So, when that goes off, oh, okay, it's first Wednesday, no problem. But lately they've had some issues just with the alarms just going off. But it's the actual physical alarm itself is not any triggering event. But every time all the people on our next door forum go, why is the alarm going off? Why is the alarm going off?
It's kind of funny.
I had the same thing when I moved to Indiana. We had our civil defense alarm. Sorry, John, but I just now noticed we're talking. I'm sorry, but it's like we used to have our civil defense alarms go off like every first Tuesday of the month at 10 a.m. Then I move over here. It's Saturday at 11 a.m. and suddenly all the damn alarms go off, and I am like voiding myself. I'm like on the internet. It was like, where are the missiles coming from? And everybody's outside just like. I'm just like, oh my God, don't you know what's coming up? So I shouldn't be left in the house by myself, is what it is.
That happened to me when I moved to Nashville. It's every first Saturday for the tornado alarms. And yeah, I moved to Nashville. I was like 12 years old and it happened. I'm like, are we all going to die? And then, of course, my mom didn't know because we all moved together. And so we were hunkered down in the closet for about 2 hours and then nothing. And yeah, so just one of those things.
It's kind of funny.
12 minutes.
It's kind of funny in Tennessee near the Sequoia nuclear plant. It's like all these tourists come in, they'll be sitting there shopping and doing all of a sudden the alarm's going, and all the tourists are like, what's going on? What's going on? Everybody goes, it's Wednesday.
Yeah. I find myself doing that a lot if I'm out to eat or something. So it always hits at lunchtime. If there are 2 or 3 people around that aren't from the area and they start, what is that? It's the first Wednesday of the month. Don't worry about it. It's okay. If it's not the first Wednesday, then you worry.
I'd be the guy in the restaurant that they'd go off and I'd go, quick, everyone into the fallout shelter. And,
duck and cover.
It's the way you set your watch. Just make sure.
Take your iodine. Do you have any iodine?
Or like we did in first grade, put your butt in the corner and, put your hands over your neck. So
lay down on the floor, put a paper bag over your head. Okay. Will it help? No, not really. But
not really.
Anyway, you just don't see it coming.
It just keeps it keeps all the contents in.
Y'all are telling these siren stories. If y'all remember when the F-22 was still in development and coming out, how Chattanooga used to get bombarded with sonic booms.
There is a big Air Force base north and west of Chattanooga, Tullahoma. It's Arnold Air Force Base. They do testing of all sorts. They do missile testing and all this, but it's mostly electronic stuff, wind tunnel testing, that sort of thing. But occasionally, we used to see test aircraft fly through there.
Yeah,
and the first time I ever saw an F-117, this was before the Gulf War. I saw one cross over Interstate 40 going through there. I think it's 24 or 40. No, it's 24.
24.
Interstate 24.
40 is more north.
I was coming from Fort Knox. I was coming home from Fort Knox, and I'm like, "Oh, cool! I've heard about those." And then, of course, then the Gulf War broke out, and everybody's like, F-117's bombing everything.
Yeah, but the thing with the sonic booms is we have what's known as the world's longest yard sale that starts way down in Alabama and goes all the way up into Ohio on 127. And this is back in the rural area of what we call Signal Mountain, actually on the county line between Hamilton County and Marion County or Sequatchie County.
Sequatchie.
Yeah, Sequatchie. We're sitting there. There's, you know how the big yard sales are, Brian. And there's always the old man whittling.
Always.
All of a sudden, boom! I mean, people scattered and all that. And I went, what the hell was that? Old man never missed a stroke. It was either one of them damn new airplanes or Jimmy blew up the meth lab again.
They like to use our area for pilot testing a lot, because one of the problems our areas have is the Cumberland, the Sequatchie Valley and the Cumberland Plateau is a big valley, a large mountain, another big valley.
Okay.
And these supersonic airplanes, they're trying to keep it just below supersonic, so that they don't. But as they pass over the mountain range, the air compresses underneath the aircraft, and they get the sonic. And it happens all the time, all along this mountain range, that they forget. The pilots forget to throttle back as they come over the mountains. Okay. And sure enough, just as they go over the mountains, boom, and then it's gone because they're over the mountain and they're back over a valley again, and it doesn't compress anymore.
Well, that's funny.
And we get some very unique sonic booms in the area.
Yeah.
Oh,
And they love, apparently the Air Force loves messing with their pilots by sending them over this mountain. They actually like traffic it over the mountain range just to see if they'll catch on to it.
Oh, wow.
So
now, is there anybody living in that area?
Oh, yeah.
On the mountain?
Oh, yeah.
There's
they're all like, what?
down there.
What?
Signal Mountain has its own city government. It's its own little, world itself.
Funny.
And then
That's funny.
Lookout Mountain doesn't quite have the problem, but they do usually. Lookout Mountain's kind of unusual, and it's not really in a flight path. Everybody uses it as a landmark, but for flying, but nobody actually flies over it really. And
Wow. Very cool.
All right. Well, we're about, believe it or not, 50 minutes has blown by.
That's amazing.
I would like to point out that we have another guest in the green room who's been sitting here patiently watching the show.
Oh, yeah, Ruth over in the green room. Yeah.
Yeah.
She should be up next, right?
That's what I was thinking. Well, it's been almost an hour, so I figured up next. I'd go ahead.
No,
Go
Brian.
ahead and,
Brian K. Morris is up next.
Oh,
And because I hit the wrong button, I got to hit my share screen, and we get a beautiful preview of Brian. It didn't do it. There it is. That's him.
he looks familiar. Oh, there he is.
You have a brother?
We haven't decided which one of us is the evil twin. That's the problem.
I actually ate my twin in utero, so I am the evil twin and the good twin.
I don't think anybody can claim I'm the good one.
Joe, I have a quick question.
No.
If you have other guests
Yeah.
that would like to watch a panel,
Yes.
would you rather us watch it through YouTube, or can we go into the green room and watch? Because I'd like to watch Brian's panel, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't want me over here.
Yeah.
I
you
would
can
welcome you.
Yeah, you can go to the green room and pull it up on your YouTube. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Or you could watch it. You can actually watch it right here without actually being part of, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
you
can
can
hold.
just drop down into, take yourself
Yeah.
or be taken off camera.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
I've already previewed the video. Make sure you didn't say any wordy dirds. Absolutely. If you're interested in broadcasting or streaming, you need to watch Brian this next panel. Brian, I mean, I ended up having to back up and get notes. I said, oh, I didn't think of that. So I picked up pointers from previewing.
Oh, good. Well, thank you. And as I was putting it together, I'm like, well, here's what you should do. And take note, kids, all the things that Brian isn't doing while he does his broadcast. So
Yes.
I come clean on it. So
Now, to be fair, hardware does make a big difference in this. And I will give you an example. You have some people with the professional microphones. You have some people with the headphones and stuff. I'm on a laptop. Why is Brian silent?
Uh-oh.
I just said
Cookie's
goodbye to
talking.
my wife. She's
Oh.
going to work. Sorry. I'm listening.
Bye, Cookie. Bye, Cookie.
Bye, Cookie. Everyone loves you.
Bye, Cookie.
More than
I was
me.
in the military. I was in the military for 27 years. I was never issued a wife.
Like I said, I found her at somebody else's wedding. What could I do?
The world's longest yard sale.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Gotta keep your eyes open for these bargains. I'm telling you.
No, you don't. You just got to show up with money. Anyway.
How'd you know? Never mind, John. Never mind. Yes, we have that kind of relationship. It's kind of like Nick and Nora Charles, you know, constantly bickering till we're alone.
All right, I'm trying to find.
That's the after show. That's the after
That's
show.
the after show. I'm trying to find the next thing, but I can't find it. I know I
put it under HallowCon.
Check the HallowCon commercials. It's not there.
I don't know exactly. Let's start uploading while we fill some time. Let's share HallowCon memories during opening ceremonies.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys take over. I'll be right back. I can't find the intro to Brian's panel. I know I uploaded it. All right, I'll be right.
Only 48 hours left to go, folks.
Hey, we're doing pretty good. Hey,
that's another good point I'd like to point out. The time change from daylight savings to standard time is this weekend. So our 48-hour con is actually going to be 49 hours.
That's right. That's right.
Now, I was curious with Joe about how that would affect the movie schedule. Because all of a sudden your laptop goes from, start this movie at 12 o'clock, it goes to 1 o'clock, then drops back to 12 o'clock. And it's like,
It won't affect it much, I promise.
The first Halloween I actually ever went to was a daylight savings Halloween con.
Oh, really?
Oh.
How cool.
So you got a free hour from the hotel.
Yeah, I was at one. I believe it was.
They didn't have to pull the beer.
Yeah, that's true. It's like, we're going to take it away and it's back.
They went through the motion and then they put it, come on, guys, let's go. Because they legally have to go through the motions.
Okay.
Okay.
Makes sense.
So there was 2 last calls that night.
One of the other interesting things about this convention, I went and bought snacks. So my con suite is kicking.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got the deviled eggs and the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and the Debbie cakes.
Pickled eggs.
HallowCon weekend's always my cheat weekend because I try to be on a lower, not low, zero carb, but lower carb diet most of the time. But I cannot resist the Little Debbie's, the con suite. Brian, if you ever get a chance to come to a live HallowCon, please come because the food. I've never had a con.
Every night.
Every night you're fed.
Yeah. So we don't have moon pies. Oh my God!
I'll bring the moon pies if it'll get me in.
The broadcast, we don't have moon pies. Okay.
John, I got a solution for you. Order Instacart and just have it delivered to you.
There we go.
Yeah, Brian.
Not
sponsored.
Brian, one of my favorite.
Without the Little Debbie's and moon pies.
Yeah. One of my saying is, if you leave HallowCon hungry, it's your own damn fault.
It is.
Exactly.
I am so there, Joe. Invite me. I'm on my way, brother.
Like, I remember one year you guys did that humongous 20-gallon pot of chili.
He's got them.
There's a man who's ready for the apocalypse.
No.
Well, it's like even the weekend the night went out, the lights went out in Georgia. We still had food. We still had feast.
There we go. Wow.
We had the big grill outside, the big exterior grill that you have to tow with the truck. Oh yeah,
the Grillzilla. Yeah,
it's usually a really good barbecue Friday night, and then Saturday it's more. It can be a variety, but like chicken, steak, usually a couple of picks of meat. I think we've had pork before.
There was one year I went. They served roast rabbit.
Really?
Ooh, I missed that year.
I went and bought some buns today for the bratwurst, and I have homemade sauerkraut.
Oh.
Okay. All right.
You know, for those of you who don't
I'm
know,
back.
sauerkraut is one of the easiest foods on earth to make.
And it's one of the best foods for you for stomach health and everything.
Yeah. All right, guys. We're gonna have
cooking, no cooking involved.
Hey, we got to wrap it up. What
are we wrapping up?
I'm gonna pull everybody down and start getting everything ready for the next panel. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be right back. Don't leave. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, welcome to Brian K. Morris's panel. We're fixing to drop a video for you. Brian's going to explain some quick notes about how to do broadcasting. Brian will be monitoring the chat room. Sort of take notes on the chat room, Brian, and if you need, just sort of tell me what needs to come up and sort of give me the timestamp, and I'll pull it up on screen for you.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good.
I haven't been on the other side, so I've been normally on your side. Where you see the comments, do they give you the timestamp?
Yes, they do. Yes,
okay.
I see that. Yeah, so I think we're good there. I'll leave the name and the timestamp and maybe a word or two as to how it starts.
Okay.
So you can differentiate.
Yeah, throw them in the private chat, and
we'll do. And thank you for having me.
Hey, thank you for being here. I just wish I could put paw to paw and shake your hand.
A lot of people want to shake me until something falls out, but but Joe, thank you so much for having me at the inaugural virtual convention, and it just makes me want to show up in person all the more.
All right. So am I halfway living up to what I've promised?
Dude, you passed my expectations before we got the opening credits open. Okay, so seriously, this is fantastic. I am totally loving it, and I hope everyone watching it, please, if you're watching from Facebook in particular, please share this information that we've got something coming out, and let's get some more eyeballs in here. Okay.
All right, let's hit it.
Let's do.
All right, pull it up to stream, and I'm gonna.
Hi, everybody. How the heck are you? I'm Brian K. Morris, and I'm glad to have you here. I'm an independent publisher, a hybrid freelance author, an award-winning playwright, and a former mortician's assistant. I'm also a frequent broadcaster. I do 4 regular broadcasts a week. On Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, I do a show called Clever Title Pending, in which we discuss with our guests creativity and the business behind it. And then at 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, I do a show on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday called Nevermind the Furthermore, which I engage with my audience one-on-one 3 times a week for a couple hours every day. And it's been quite rewarding. I've been broadcasting for about 5 years now, and it hasn't hurt my sales, if you know what I mean. I also have picked up work because of it as a creator, and I'm also frequently on other people's shows to promote what I'm doing and to promote my friends. So I'm a big believer in broadcasting. And if you're wondering how you can get involved, well, you tuned into the right place. And yes, this is pre-recorded, so you'll see some jump cuts occasionally, but please leave your comments and I will try to respond to them. If I'm watching live, if this is being rebroadcast, or if you catch this on my Facebook or YouTube pages, I will try to reply to your questions and fill out your wealth of knowledge. But for the next 19 minutes and 20 seconds, now less, I'm going to describe to you how you can become a broadcaster. It's easier than you think. And first thing we're going to start out with is why you should broadcast. The reason why you should consider broadcasting to promote yourself is that this is a video world now. Okay, everybody's carrying these really fancy cameras. And did you know they make phone calls too? It's true. But they carry these fancy cameras. And they take them everywhere. They stick their nose in it and ignore traffic as they're crossing the street. We have become addicted to video, to input, constant input. And since people are so attuned to like YouTube or Facebook Live, then that's a good way to reach your audience, your potential buyers, and your current friends and fans. They say that you should make your personal outreach sound most like you. Well, I stutter. I have false starts to sentences. What better way to sound like me than to do this? What kind of training do you need to do this? Very little. Although you don't need to study public speaking. I just happen to have a background in broadcasting. I used to do pledge breaks for my local PBS station. I've also done community theater, which has helped a lot, and retail helps you quite a bit because you have to reach out to strangers, say hi, hey, can I help you? I've got a message. You need to buy this brand of so-and-so. Well, this time the thing you're selling are your books, your comic books, your crowdfunding campaign, and most importantly, you. Now, we're not only a video-based society anymore, but we're also a litigious one. So here's my disclaimer. The views expressed are solely those of Mr. Morris and not the venue that's hosting him. And he doesn't guarantee that any of this will work for you, but it'll work better than not doing it at all. So get ready to start learning some stuff. Get a pad of paper and several pens, and let's see how much knowledge I can fill your head with about broadcasting. Now you're saying, Brian, I'd love to broadcast, and heck, I think I can talk to people one-on-one, because right now I'm not imagining you, and I'm certainly not doing that thing they say where you should imagine your Did we just lose me on there? Does anyone else not know?
I believe so. I just all of a sudden the sound cut off for a minute, about 30 seconds, and then the video stopped.
Okay, well, I did see somebody like push the button to stop it.
I stopped the video because we lost audio somehow.
Okay.
Is that what happened? Audio?
Yeah, I lost the audio, yeah.
I don't know what happened. Give me just a second.
Yeah, let's review a little bit of what we talked about prior.
Yeah, review while I rewind.
We will.
We will. Yeah, so it doesn't take a whole lot of knowledge. I personally work in retail, so I'm used to talking to random people about buying random things. We actually have what we call like a +1 program. And like if you buy a poster, you need these command hooks or whatever. So I'm getting more and more used to it. And I used to podcast back in the day, but this is scary to me still. And so what kind of, advice would you say for the extroverted introvert in me?
Well, I've developed what I like to call me, not me, who is a second personality that has a lot of the attributes of regular Brian, with a little more caffeination, a lot less inhibition, and just realize that most people watching you are not there to watch you fail. They're there to watch you succeed, and they will cheer you on. And yay! Yeah, exactly, John. And the thing is, you're always going to get trolls and everything, but they are going to be so outnumbered. Especially
on the internet.
One troll because I am one of the trolls. So.
I'm the worst one of all. So I know how to defend against them. They are my people. But no. If you have any sort of customer service position, whether it's like talking to somebody on the phone or one-on-one in FaceTime, then you've already got a lot of what you need to do a broadcast like this. I think I go into it in the video, but when I got to do the Doctor Who breaks at my local PBS station back in the day. And I learned that if I'm thinking that there's 5,000 people watching me, I'm going to have to ring out my Depends. But if what I did was whenever I'd start a segment, I'd go up and introduce myself to my camera person. And from that point on, I'm talking to that camera person. I'm not talking to the 4,999 people that are watching it out in the ether. I am talking to the guy or gal behind the lens there.
So basically, you're just now having conversation at that point.
Okay, guys,
Exactly.
I've got it.
Exactly.
I've got it
Good
fixed.
question, Blake.
I've got it fixed. Thanks for being here, helping when we have tech issues.
I did a whole convention to fill in, honestly.
Thank you.
All right. Let's go. And back to full Brian.
Books, your crowdfunding campaign, and most importantly, you. Now, we're not only a video-based society anymore, but we're also a litigious one. So here's my disclaimer. The views expressed are solely those of Mr. Morris and not the venue that's hosting him. And he doesn't guarantee that any of this will work for you, but it'll work better than not doing it at all. So get ready to start learning some stuff. Get a pad of paper and several pens, and let's see how much knowledge I can fill your head with about broadcasting. Now you're saying, Brian, I'd love to broadcast, and heck, I think I can talk to people one-on-one, because right now I'm not imagining you, and I'm certainly not doing that thing they say where you should imagine your audience naked. That's for later. No, I'm talking to you one-on-one. You, at the other side of this camera, you're my audience, and I'm talking to you. Ignore the other people that might also be watching this video. This is just for you. This is just you and me talking. That's how you get about public speaking, okay? And you're probably saying, well, Brian, that's all well and good, and I think I could do that because I talk to cashiers and I talk to the people behind the desk at the post office, but it's got to be expensive. No. Right now I'm doing this on my laptop. The special program I'm using it is Camera with Windows 10. And this microphone for this broadcast is the only real purchase I've made. And it cost me about $40 on eBay. And I think that included the postage. You don't have to spend a lot of money. In fact, a lot of YouTubers don't use laptops or fancy cameras. Some do. And they use fancy lighting and stuff. No. A lot of people use this thing. It's your phone. It has a very, very crisp image that it can draw. It's a digital image, so it can be edited easily. In fact, some people edit their videos in their phone. We're not going to get into editing because that's out of my my specialties. Okay, I'm in a lot of ways I'm pretty much a Luddite in a lot of this. But anyway, this also has a very strong microphone. So, like I said, a lot of YouTubers use this for mobile shots. Now, I choose to simply broadcast from where I'm at. This is my writing office, actually. I've also broadcast from my living room. I've broadcast from my dining room. I've done other remote shows, but I've taken my laptop in order to do it because that's the equipment I'm comfortable with. So do what's comfortable for you. Now let's talk about lighting. Okay, you don't want deep shadows created on any part of your body. In my room right here, and you'll see some glare in the background and occasionally in my glasses. Just ignore that if you will. That will be taken care of in time because we'll talk about backgrounds too. Anyway, I have a 3-headed light over here that I ripped off from my living room to illuminate me from my 2 o'clock. Now, at 10 o'clock, I have a 5 bulbed light with those little adjustable snaky arms. 3 of them are pointed in my direction. 2 are bouncing off. You can't see it, but my ceiling is the same color as the wall behind me. So it kind of reflects and comes down on me. If you've ever been to a stage play, you'll see that they are mostly lit from above, except for the spotlight moments. And it's not expensive. My 2 lamps here probably didn't cost me $35. And like I said, I had one anyway. You can also use ambient light from a window. Just don't put it behind you because this creates a silhouette effect that is really unattractive. People want to see your beautiful face. Look at your expressions. The pain in your eyes is you can't think of what to say next, which is why sometimes you should bring notes. So anyway, there's nothing expensive about this. And you're probably thinking, well, Brian, what special programs do I need to use to get on the air? Well, we're going to cover that right now. Facebook has its own proprietary system that you can log on and it will activate your microphone and your camera inside your device, like in this case, my laptop or your phone or your fancy switcher equipment, whatever. You can also use something called OBS, which is Open Broadcast Software. You can get that at obsproject.com. It's a free download. OBS is probably one of the most sophisticated systems that I've ever worked with, and I used to use it. And I had a really fancy schmancy setup on it where I had like a ticker tape crawl across the bottom like a news program, and I could change the scene and bring up cards, different graphics, insert videos and such. But I found that there was a steep learning curve on that. And since I'm doing this by myself, I don't have somebody else handling the controls for me, which is probably a situation most of you are going to find yourself in. It just became too distracting to really keep engaged with my audience and deliver my message to them. So it's a good system if you're a little more tech savvy, I think. But what I use generally for my recordings and for some of my pre-recordings is called StreamYard.com. This is not meant as an endorsement for them, and I've not accepted any money from them, but I do use it because it does have a pay level, as does OBS, and you get more the more you pay. StreamYard at the free level will allow you to bring guests in so you can co-host a broadcast. Also, it is very sophisticated and it allows you to upload graphics that you can put in and around you on the screen. You can split the screen with other people. I know the $40 a month subscription version will allow you to have 10 people simultaneously on the screen. I don't know 9 other people would really like to be alone with me, but that's another issue. And the learning curve on StreamYard is very, very low. It's not as fancy as OBS, but then again, it's a lot easier to do, especially if you're the only person doing the switching, which is changing scenes and bringing people in and out, etc., etc. So you can find that at www.streamyard.com. I do recommend checking both of them out. And the nice thing about StreamYard is also you can send your message out to multiple platforms at the same time, which include I do multiple Facebook pages. I have 2 pages currently on YouTube, including my own Brian K. Morris Rising Tide Publications page. Please subscribe, give it a like. You'll see this video on there eventually. I also have a link to my LinkedIn account, which I don't use that often. I believe you can do Instagram from there. Also, Twitter has a video function, but do the research. There is a top secret. There's a top secret website that not everybody knows about. If you have any questions about broadcasting, in fact, about writing or publishing, I really recommend this one to you. Get ready to write this down, guys. It's really important. It's called google.com. Okay. Just type in your question, whatever you want to know, you'll find it there. Also, YouTube has a plethora of videos that will help you become a better broadcaster and even a better writer and publisher. It's really cool. There's a lot of information there from people who are actually doing it. Now let's talk about branding and backgrounds. Branding. This is my branding. People know me for the glasses, the fez, especially Doctor Who fans, because fezzes are cool, bow ties are cool. Also, the mutton chops. I just like how they look, and it reminds certain people of Isaac Asimov, the classic science fiction author. So this is my personal look. You will have to decide what you want to look like when you're on the air. I do recommend, however, do not use like trademarked stuff. If you look behind me, I've been very careful to remove any trademarked material. It's either in the public domain or specially created, which falls under fair use, which is probably a good video to have on its own. But you don't want to have any sort of logo on you because it's distracting. You want people to be thinking about you and what you are saying. If anything, wear a T-shirt with your book cover on it. Wear a polo shirt with your logo, your company logo, stenciled on it. Same thing goes for your background. Now, this one is a little bad because although it's made up of things and images that mean something to me, you'll see glare coming off of right here. You'll see glare coming off of right here. That shouldn't happen. I will be redoing the set. It's kind of a work in progress. But again, remove all trademarked stuff. If anything, what you should be having are like images of your work, your artwork, your writing, the covers of your books and magazines, stuff that is subliminally telling the viewer what you do. And the more of your stuff that you have up, the better it looks. All right. So think about how you're projecting yourself to your audience visually. Another thing that comes up occasionally is music. I mean, music can really set the tone for a broadcast, and a lot of shows have their own theme music. Now, here's where you can really run into trouble, and I've had it happen to me fairly recently. I used the video that I thought was in the public domain, all of it. But a company that manages intellectual properties, including music, gave me what's called a copyright strike on Facebook, saying that I was using their music that they represented, of course, without permission. And the consequences would be either I'd have to take down that video and replace that piece of footage, or if it were somehow monetized, I'd have to give them the money. Well, I'm too greedy. I don't want that. YouTube is especially sensitive about that. But there are people out there who are making what are called Creative Commons music. Creative Commons, it's a very useful thing to know. And in exchange for just, say, a credit on whatever you're producing, they'll let you use that. Sometimes it's for non-commercial purposes. Sometimes it's for a meager fee, or sometimes it's just for the credit, or sometimes you don't have to do anything but just use the music and they're happy. A great source of this, of all places, is in YouTube. They have a studio that anyone with an account can access. And there is a musical library, different styles, everything from ragtime to Halloween, classical to hard rock, death metal. If you want a polka intro to your show, there's probably someone out there doing it and will let you use that to your heart's content. So that's the only kind of music I would possibly use. Otherwise, like on YouTube, if you get 3 copyright strikes that are undefended, you could lose your channel and lose all your videos and lose your monetization. And that in this day and age is very important. Don't worry about monetization. Just worry about communicating with your audience. That's the chief purpose of broadcasting. I will also say that if you know anything about special effects from Hollywood, you know about what are called green screens, in which another image is broadcast or superimposed behind the foreground characters. Both StreamYard and OBS will allow you to do green screens. I'm not quite that savvy yet, but maybe next time I do this video, we will have that. Again, be aware of whether the image you're using in the back is copyrighted or not. But otherwise, you could make your whole setting look like something like the bridge of a sci-fi starship or a newsroom. In fact, that's how a lot of news organizations have their studios now, that a lot of what is behind them is computer generated, and you just have the foreground characters and the desk and the props or whatever. So anyway, that's a little bit of trivia, but green screen might be something you might be interested in using. Now, in the few minutes we've got remaining for this broadcast, let's talk content. Notice I saved the most important thing for last. Content is king. You've been hearing it for years, and it is very true in broadcasting. And what should you broadcast? Well, I've got this book to sell. Hey, everybody, buy my book. You can get it on Amazon. Make sure you hold it a little tilted forward so that it doesn't glare with your lights. Another tip for you. But nobody wants to watch an infomercial. Okay, there's enough of that on broadcast TV. Instead, let them get to know you. Read a passage from your book. Tell people what went into the creation of your comic book. What inspired you? What inspires you? What are the authors and the artists and the creators who had an impact on your output? Drop hints of upcoming projects. Talk about how you do what you do. Talk about why you set up a Patreon page. Talk about why people should check out your crowdfunding project like Kickstarter or Indiegogo. What you did on vacation, or just have a conversation in live video. Live is a really great way if you're good at improvising and thinking on the fly. Live video, such as what you can do on almost any major social platform, is a real good way for your audience to get to know you. And if they genuinely appreciate you, then chances are they might be interested in what you do as far as creativity goes. So when you get on the air, share your insights, share your history, share your passion for what you're doing. Share yourself. Don't be afraid to look a little bit silly, all right? Take yourself not seriously, all right? Don't be afraid to make mistakes, because that's how you learn. That's how I got so smart. Like, don't hit your microphone. And be encouraging, be positive. That's the thing that people really need right now, is encouragement, and to know that they can do it too, and that they should follow you as a thought leader, as a source of entertainment, as a source of insight, maybe just as a friend. So this kind of scratches the surface of broadcasting, but like I said, I'm on 3 times a week at 10 a.m. on YouTube and Facebook. Never mind the furthermore, where if you want to come on and ask me some questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them for you. And I appreciate your attention these last 20 minutes. We hope that you'll get the moxie to go out there and just give this a shot. It's a great way to build your audience and build your following. All right. Thank you very much. I'm Brian K. Morris. And remember, as always, stay smart. Stay safe, wash your hands, and never apologize for being awesome. Have a great day, everyone. And that was me back in the day. No, it was just about a couple weeks ago or so. And again, I want to thank Joe and everyone here at HallowCon for letting me present my video. This was the world premiere of it. Sorry we had some kerfluffles. Now, we've got a couple minutes remaining. If anyone has any questions, I would be more than happy to try to answer them. Was there something we didn't cover? Something you would like to know about? And I know I've got some friends here that see me fumble through my shows. So thank you very much. Carl Witzman says, very good. Susan Basham says, that was great. Thank you. Mind Twist 81, awesome. Appreciate it. Chris Walker, thank you very much. All good ideas. I hope that you all can walk away with some new insight into broadcasting. Just to talk a little bit about letting people see you. There's a story about a woman, one of those romance authors, who was just put on this kind of like 50s Hollywood glamour image, and one day she was broadcasting from her kitchen and she sprang a leak in her thing and started swearing like a Marine trying to put this thing out, and her views just skyrocketed. Chris Walker asks, how long did it take you to start building your audience? My audiences, Chris, were very modest at first. Like I said, I've been doing this for 5 years in one way or another. And it takes time. It takes perseverance. I think the thing to do is, one, tell people you're going to be on the air. Let them know you're going to be on. And also, if you can, try to broadcast at the same time every time, whether it's once a month, once a week, once a day, if you're ambitious. But consistency, I think, is the key, Chris. And encourage people to share your video. Encourage them to like what you do, because here's another thing. When you like this, if you see it on Facebook, give that video a like. It helps the visibility, because that's what the algorithms respond to. Same way with YouTube. Give that a like. A subscribe does even more. So if you like what you saw here, please go to my Brian K. Morris Rising Tide Publications page and give that a like. And see, that's what you do. You ask people to do it. And if they like what you do, they will respond. So what kind of mic do you use, says Jeffrey Hayes? That's a good question. I was trying to find this information for somebody. I don't know the model of it, but I did find the manual. It is Neewer, Neewer. And I got this thing off of eBay at the recommendation of the Eric Hawkins, who uses it in his own broadcasts. But yeah, it doesn't tell me the model number or anything. I don't remember which one it is. But it's a really good microphone, and I got it, like I said, for probably about $40, including postage. Like I said, you don't have to spend a whole lot, Jeffrey, and it's one of the nice things about broadcasting. Now, you see the guys at Stupid O'Clock. They have some pretty sophisticated setups, and it works. And I'm watching this video in its entirety. I've learned one thing myself: don't lean into the microphone. But anyway, but that's another thing. Also, a lot of microphones come with a wind guard, so that you don't do the peas popping sort of thing. And notice I have mine off to the side. I picked that up from singer Tom Jones. That way my breath is going this way, but the sound is getting picked up from over here. There's another thing for you. Carl Wissman, the only thing I would push is that good audio is more important than your video. Yeah, higher resolution is good, Carl. That's a very good point. Sound is one of the things that you don't know till you hear it in the playback, especially. So it's good to be aware of your sound, your background, everything. But the nice thing is you can do this on the fly. What I do now is very similar to what you see here. You see my early efforts. I was sick a year ago, and a friend of mine did my shows for a week, and he found my very first Nevermind the Furthermore, and I thought I would have another relapse watching it, because it was god awful. The lighting was dismal. I was broadcasting upwards, so people were looking at my nose hairs, rather than something like this, where I have my laptop on a platform, so that we're kind of eye to eye, the way we'd be in real life, and makes us a little more relatable, I hope. But yeah, I see that audio is very, very important, because people have to hear you, and but pay attention to all of it, and you can fix it one step at a time. Is a beautiful thing. Susan Basham asks, do you do anything special to warm up or take care of your voice? I do sometimes vocal warm-ups, especially for the morning show. I make sure I drink hot liquids. Like, I'm a coffee fiend. So, it's like, with the Tim Hortons there mainlining it. But I drink usually in the morning warm liquids rather than cold, which will kind of frees up your larynx, your vocal cords a little. Plus, I do vocal exercises occasionally, and sometimes when I'm about ready to go on, I will like, kind of stretch my jaws. Sometimes, not I'm not auditioning for Kiss when I do that, but it's like I do things to just loosen up my my mouth. And speaking widely, you could speak like this, like a lot of people do, but you just don't get the emotive flair if you instead let your mouth open up. It's something you learn in singing. Like I said, I did community theater, musicals and stuff, so I picked up little singing things that have actually helped me as a broadcaster in my presentation. And Coffee says that YouTube user, you got that right. I'm telling you right now. I tell people coffee is the lubricant upon which the gears of creativity grind. So, Carl Westman, I see a lot of beginners trying to get 4K video with 60 frames per second, and they have a crappy mic. And now there you go. There you go. I think you hit on an interesting point there, Carl, that your audio and video should be about on the same level. So if you have crappy video, you might as well have crappy audio, but you can improve it. And sometimes it isn't even your equipment, but for instance, you see that little, like here on StreamYard, there is a little looks like a little gear like what you have on Windows 10, and you can ratchet up and down your video and audio quality. So great. Thank you, Susan. Thank you. Appreciate your questions. You guys and gals have been wonderful. You've had some great questions, and until Joe throws me out of here, I'm willing to keep answering them. All right. And Joe is in the stream audio only. I'm
Hey.
Hey.
All right, there I am. Okay.
Dear Lord, good.
I'm trying to give you as much spotlight as possible, Brian, because this is your hour.
My hour. Oh my goodness. Well, no, I agree, and you've got some great questions here. And if anybody has any more questions, seriously, there are no stupid questions. I cannot guarantee the answers you get, though. So, and have a sense of humor about this. That's going to help you a lot.
Well, I have always been told the dumbest question was the one that was never asked.
Exactly. And
so,
you're
ask
right.
away. Gapacho Gonzo says people will listen to audio without video, but not video without audio. That said, personality is greater than all.
That's true. And don't be afraid to have a larger than life image. Unfortunately, this, when you meet me in person, this is pretty much what you get. Lord help you. But no. And a lot of people you'll find. Oh, here's another tip for you all. That I'm a great believer in work once and get paid numerous times. Yeah. You can set your video broadcast up and just pull the audio out later as an MP3 and then present it as a podcast across various platforms.
You've been recommending me to do that with another broadcast venture I've got going.
Yes, indeed, I have. And and like you have to judge whether you think that your format will accommodate it. So just what I would do is listen to one of my video that you've done and listen and think, now do the visuals help you in any way? Is there enough visual that just the audio doesn't carry the narrative, if that makes sense? But on the other hand, if it can, then you might as well make a podcast out of it and create another stream of potential revenue. Gaspacha Gonzo, absolutely. I just got paid for my backlog today. Well, good for you. Now, that's the one thing I say, don't worry about monetization when you first get going, because that's a long, long road. The different platforms will have different criteria for monetizing your broadcasts, but some will allow you to take money, for instance, to present like some sort of advertising. That's something we've started doing with our shows. You just have to be aware of what the terms of service are. And Carl Witzman has another thing there at 4:36 p.m. Thought up another idea. Some people's intros look like the second coming. Then they start the show, and it's just a guy in a feed store hat in a closet. Well, Carl, don't tell all my secrets, okay? And he says, don't overpromise. That's another thing, that whatever you do, promise less, deliver more. All right. But the thing is, communication is, I think, key in any sort of content. I got hooked on a lot of videos on YouTube simply because they were educational and I like learning stuff, but they were also reaching out to their viewer and talking to them as if it were one-on-one, just as like what I tried to be there. And then I've got a comment there at 4:38 from Jeffrey Hayes of Plasma Fire Graphics. He said, I'm proud to be a sponsor of your programs, Jeffrey. We're proud to have you, sir. How did you decide what to charge for advertising on your shows? That's an excellent question. I contacted some people who were doing paid advertising on their YouTube shows, and I just compared notes and came up with a figure. Actually, I came up with the low end of the figure for like taking my audience into consideration, like my numbers and all. You should always keep track of your numbers, especially if you want to grow your network. And then I thought, well, if I were an advertiser, would I pay this to sponsor an episode? Would I pay the higher amount to sponsor an episode? And then I came up with a couple of numbers, and now we are accepting sponsorships. So now the thing is, I wouldn't have done it 5 years ago when I was just starting because I couldn't see anybody wanting to encourage me to keep going. But that's what your audience will do once you find your tribe.
I got one for you real quick, Brian.
Yes, please.
What is your opinion on using mnemonics for like keyword placement, like at specific times or specific areas of your show? Like, it's 2 for Tuesdays and we're going to, hit you up with 2 songs from Aerosmith, or, keywording and placement in your shows. Do you think that has a good mental effect on your people, or do you always go kind of freestyle?
My own stuff is freestyle. That's an excellent question. My stuff is freestyle because mentally I'm as disorganized as they come.
I am too. That's why I was curious.
Yeah. The inside of my head looks like it ought to be a FEMA disaster site. But I am trying to get more, especially now that I have advertisers to be responsible for. So I am trying to get their message in. I follow one called The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS that he has his spots at the quarter hour, and I admire that kind of discipline. Whereas my show started out basically one man, one camera, and about 40 people tuning in. Not all of them staying, but it was very disorganized. But you have to start somewhere, and which brings up another thing. Yes, there are broadcasters out there who attract millions of people to their broadcast, like a PewDiePie or like a Jake Logan or a Philip DeFranco, 2 of which I like in that statement. But the idea is that they started out very small as well, with a small audience, and they just build it with consistency. Their show, Philip DeFranco especially, he started out as a wannabe white rapper.
I remember those days.
Yeah, and he keeps those videos up to remind him of those days, to keep him humble.
Yeah. He's basically the John Cena of YouTube, because John Cena started out as a rapper and then worked his way up to where he is now. So.
Yeah, exactly, to near godhood. But yeah.
Did y'all? There were 2 comments that popped up since I had to run away real quick.
Yes, sir.
The Jeffrey Hayes comment. Did you cover that?
That one already.
Yes, we did.
And did you get Miss Basham's?
I didn't see that. Thank you, Joe. Susan Basham, when you broadcast frequently, do you ever run dry on topics? Do you keep anything on the back burner in case it's a light topic week? Yes, frequently. When I started out, and this was a great crutch for me, I had what I called an agenda, and I would write down ideas on a piece of paper like this, and I would try to work them in if I could. But since my morning show is pretty much based on what people post in the comments, we can riff off of that. And so sometimes they will suggest things that will that are on their minds and that we can discuss in a civil manner. And my evening show, Clever Title Pending, it started out as like pretty much the morning show, but broadcast later, because we kind of envisioned it as kind of a Brian without a filter. Well, Brian doesn't have a filter anyway, so that's kind of redundant. And I try not to use rough language on my own program. I slip occasionally, but but anyway, I got the idea about 4 months ago to start interviewing my very creative friends, and I used to prepare like about 3 hours worth of questions, but I also took questions like we're doing now from the audience and letting them decide what they want to hear. And I think it's that interactivity with your audience, whether you're presenting like a pre-recorded piece, or whether you're doing it live like we're doing right now, that's very important to interact with your audience like we're doing right now, Susan. And don't be afraid to change your format. Like I said, Philip DeFranco started out as white teenage rapper and has evolved into, I think, one of the best news programs, one of the most balanced news programs on the air on any medium today. So and here we go. Carl Witzman has a thing. I like how Brian gets to his point right away and doesn't dither for 9 minutes to get started. Yeah, I like to cover my point, Carl. I may go like this once we get started, momentum being what it is, but it is one thing this will do is teach you how to present yourself better. I do try to be, I'm better focused now than I was 5 years ago, which isn't exactly a high bar to hurdle. I also have cut down on my you-knows. I still do it. I don't stutter as much as I used to, and my diction has improved immensely. Especially now you've got to do it, especially now that we have automatic subtitles. I fear to see what's under the screen. Great, Susan, thank you very much. Susan, when you if you're doing anything, and if you like in broadcasting or when you start, please let me know. Please find a way. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm mostly on Facebook, but just let me know. I would love to see what you guys and gals are doing from this point on. So no, getting back to your saying, I don't run dry on topics because I am utilizing my audience to come up with the topics. So, but
I know a show like that. I know, and it's one of my favorites. My Thursdays and Saturdays now have meaning to me. They were once empty wastelands, especially after 9 o'clock Eastern time on Thursdays, and Saturdays at 11. And that's another thing. Don't be afraid to cross promote your friends. Oh yes.
Yeah, seriously. Let their gravitas work for you, and vice versa. Seriously, because and it's we talk about rising tide. If I can for a moment, Joe, try and stop me. Yeah. But Jeffrey Hayes says I do say.
I can stop you. I mean, just
yeah. help. Anyway,
love you, Brian.
I love you too, Joe. And I'd kill for the chance to. But anyway, bad Brian. But anyway, no, seriously, the rising tide is a personal philosophy. John F. Kennedy used to say a rising tide raises all ships. And I found that to be true. When I started as a full-time writer, I got a lot of advice from people who didn't have to give it to me. And yet they did. And I learned really, really quickly that the only way you can pay that sort of thing back is to pay it forward. And that's why I'm here happily sharing what I know of broadcasting. So anyway, I saw you had another comment come up.
Oh yeah, Chris Walker goes, Laura, Joe needs focus. Too many squirrels and distraction. I think he's gotten better with it though. Yeah, with the video, it has helped me because I'm seeing everything right in front of me, which has helped. Of course, Jeffrey Hayes says a lot, but because he's old.
Hey, get off my lawn.
Yeah.
Sorry. Automatic response.
But yeah, thank you so much, Brian. Again, it's an honor to have you here because I recognize you as a pioneer in the broadcasting and StreamYard.
Well, thank you.
Of course, it amazed me that we actually, in the opening ceremonies, got a representative from StreamYard to come in.
Seriously, that was, if you missed that, folks, you missed something. We had one of the chief hands on the wheel from this platform that we're using. I mentioned StreamYard, and you've seen already just with the time when Joe and I have been here, and you saw the video. That is some of what StreamYard can do. And I'm not a paid representative of anyone associated with StreamYard. But my PayPal is open. It's paypal.me/risingtidebkm. Just letting you know, guys, just in case. Anyway, but seriously, yeah, StreamYard is a beautiful platform. And I think one of the things, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but if you have control over the look of your show, and it's fairly easy to do, you're going to feel more confident and then push the envelope on what you are able to do. You're going to try to top yourself. You know, I've seen your show develop quite a bit just since you started using StreamYard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good look.
And make sure I have spelled this right.
Yes, thank you very much, including the capitalization of BKM. Yes, that is a tip jar that we have, and thank you, Joe. For this and the kind words. We use our tip jar because that's how we are improving the look of our broadcasts and of our publications, is through the tip jar. So thank you again, Joe, and thank you for your very kind words. Considering all that you've gotten done with Stupid O'Clock, and now this, man, that is, I am well and truly praised. I sincerely am.
All right, I'm going to add something here.
Okay. That's another thing. You can do crawls across the bottom of the screen. We're going to be a 48-hour we're going to be a 49-hour infomercial for StreamYard yet, and I have no problem with that.
Not at all. I mean,
and that tip about adjusting the color earlier. Holy cats, that's major.
Yeah. Now we got a new
help, Brian. That's right. Tim Hortons coffee ain't cheap in my part of the country, folks.
No.
You know?
He wants to roll the lid and win big. Pay this man.
That's right. Yeah, but no, it's and also I have a Patreon page. There are different ways that if you are looking to supplement what you do, it's easy enough. And like I said, you don't have to get a second and third job to afford better equipment than what you naturally have in your phone or your laptop or your basic computer. But if you can, please do so. And in fact, I learn a lot from watching Stupid O'Clock on the weekends when you and everybody start going through your equipment. So
this is you heard the story of this thing, haven't you?
I think I have, but maybe the audience would like to hear it if they haven't already.
Well, I get home yesterday and there's a box sitting on the front porch. Inside the box is this little note.
Oh my goodness. Oh, Carl Witzman. Yes.
So yes, Carl, that was what my comment today was.
I hadn't heard this.
I don't care what people say. Carl Witzman is an awesome dude.
He really is, and I'm sure Carl doesn't care what most people say either. But no, Carl has been, actually, when I was using OBS, I've got to give Carl some props. He was very instrumental in getting my show as far as it went when I did use OBS. And every step of the way, he's been a great resource for me as well. He also has a secret humor page, folks, that if you contact Carl or Donna Carlene or myself, you can get in. And Carl has many fun broadcasts that he doesn't put on the air.
Yes.
They are hilarious. Joe shows up to them frequently, as do I. And gets a little raucous sometimes, but it's a lot of fun. But the thing is, you've got to have a good sense of humor, and you must be impervious to offense.
Oh yes,
yeah. If you're easily triggered, this is not your safe space. So
Carl does definitely, and we got some more comments that snuck in on us.
Okay, I'm reading the private chat. Thanks, guys.
So.
Carl, you are the bomb. I agree. He is. And now get the next one if you could, please, Joe. Carl has his response. Nope. We will agree to disagree.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah. And Who is this Carl you speak of? You have a nice twin? That sounds like a married couple if I ever heard one.
Oh, I got one like Carly at home. I'm telling you, yeah. This my cookie that we have mentioned earlier is the same one. When I wrote my one book, Volcana, she read the manuscript and she said, "Is chapter 39 supposed to make sense?" And I'm like, yeah, I thought it did. So, yeah. So she obviously doesn't give a crap about my feelings, but anyway.
All right, there's about 2 minutes left to roll in your 55 minutes of your hour.
My fame, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I want to thank you. So this is a time where you need to jump in and plug your stuff. Well, you've been plugging everything else. Let's plug yourself.
That's the one thing I'm really bad at when I get started here, because I love talking about Stupid O'Clock and everybody else and Carl and all my Nevermorians, as we call them. But okay, I will do that. And I thank you very much for the platform and the time here. You guys have been great, and this has been a winner already. Anyway, I'm Brian K. Morris of Rising Tide Publications, risingtide.pub, where you can sign up for my free monthly newsletter. Or if you have Facebook Messenger, send me your email address, and I will get you on the list. The next issue goes out this coming Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern. We put it out every first of the month, and that's what we do. We also have a variety of books, horror, humor, this one, Sandestein, you'll all love it. This is the right season for it. Or historical fantasy, contemporary fantasy, we do it all. Also, we have 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. Never mind the furthermore. Now, we have StreamYard. If I were in charge of my StreamYard, we wouldn't be holding up a paper sign here. But anyway, never mind the furthermore, where you are the guest, you are the star. We talk about what you want to talk about. And Clever Title Pending on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m., where we talk about creativity and the business behind it by interviewing a whole bunch of really cool creative people. And tonight, I hate to take people away from HallowCon, but if you want to set up another screen and watch me at 8 p.m. tonight, we're going to be interviewing Master Ron Fitzgerald, Chicago-based Gothic illusionist, actor, and soon to be a star of his own comic book. It's going to be a lot of fun. Plus, we have a guest appearance by somebody who was a guest before, and we need to get Joe on my show as soon as we get an opening. So that's it. And Joe, thank you again for having me. This has been an absolute blast, and good luck with the next 47 hours. It's going to be great. I'm going to be tuning in when I can.
I appreciate it, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess we're going to plug some of our, we got a few sponsors who have bought some ads. So guess what? We're going to run a few ads real quick till we get our next guest in here. So thank you, Brian. Also, our virtual vendors hall is open at HallowCon, www.hallowcon.com. There's vendors and all that. And there's also the HallowCon merch store is linked there. We've got T-shirts, coffee mugs, a great face mask of our banner back here, and all that. So everybody, watch our vendors. And Brian, thank you, sir. Normally we say bye afterwards, but I'm not signing off. So I guess you're just going to have to hit leave studio and leave us alone.
Well, I will. And in closing, like I said in the video, stay smart, stay safe, wash your hands, and never apologize for being awesome. Joe and everybody here, thank you very much. Thank you for your great questions. Thank you for the support team. And we'll be seeing you later. Have a good evening.
Good night.
Good night.
Hey guys, it's Angel with Immortal Impressions doing the virtual thing for HallowCon 2020. Y'all can visit us at For Immortal Impressions on Facebook. Send us a private message. We can handle all of your ceramic, sewing, 3D printing, masks, costumes, and all the other goodies that we have, and we'll be glad to take care of you. Y'all have a good con and a good year.
This is the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Also catch us on the HWWS Web TV YouTube channel. Subscribe today and become part of the legend.
Dr. Megan McAllister was already pretty unusual when she encountered the man in the black suit that night. What Division 1 Agent Echo didn't know was that she was even more special, but he'd find out soon enough. Stephanie Osborne uses the urban legend of operatives who show at UFO sightings and make things disappear to craft her vision of the universe we don't know. The Division 1 series chronicles this via Recruit Omega and experienced partner Echo as they handle everything from lost children to alien assassination and more. Book 1, Alpha and Omega, is available in print and ebook from your favorite bookseller.
Hey everybody, we got it. Hey Stephanie, little mix up on the stream links, but we got you here.
Alrighty.
Okay. If you need to go ahead and get your setup to bring in your you're presenting a slideshow, so need to get you to bring, share that in.
Okay, let me go ahead and
all right.
All right. Let's see. I hit share screen.
Share screen.
Share screen. Application window.
Yes. And then
share
what? Again.
Share.
And there it is.
And
no, you just shared your screen again. You shared this screen.
Stop sharing.
Yes.
All right. So
it's just a little technical.
Yeah, this is kind of weird.
It's new too, but yeah.
All right, application window. There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
There it is.
All righty. Now I just got to start the doggone slideshow, and I'm good.
Yeah. Bring it up full screen for you. There we go.
Okie doke.
And I will bring that up here, and I will drop out of here. And of course, let's go ahead and introduce you. We've got Stephanie Osborne, and we're going to throw out my three famous questions. Who are you? What do you do? And how the heck did you end up here?
I'm Stephanie Osborne. I really am one of those rocket scientists you hear about. These days, I spent several decades in the civilian and military space program. I have graduate and undergraduate degrees in astronomy, physics, chemistry, math, with some secondary specialties in geology. And these days I'm retired from doing the rocket science mostly, and I write books. And some of those are science fiction, and some of those are science fiction mystery, and some of those are popular science. I didn't start off intending to write popular science, but I got invited to do, well, you're not supposed to get ahead of me there, slideshow. I got invited to do a talk about solar and space weather some years back at LibertyCon. And that's kind of where Joe Dog and I met, was at Liberty. And that talk went over so well. Everybody was like, "Can you please turn this into an ebook so we can see it?" Because not everybody got to attend because it was standing room only. And so one thing led to another, and so I started making science presentations and then turning them into popular science ebooks. So if you look at the slide right now, over on the right, you see the cover of the ebook that corresponds to this particular talk.
Okay, hold on just a second. Don't know what happened. It changed around. And also, you are now broadcasting on your Stephanie Osborne page. Excellent. On Facebook. Yeah, there we go.
Okay. So the ebook that corresponds with this talk is on the right-hand side of the screen. It's called Incoming, the Chicxulub Impactor. And yes, if you look closely, that is a cheeseburger that the dinosaur is eating. So my husband did the cover art. He has a wicked sense of humor. All right. So let's hit a few definitions here real quick so y'all will know what the heck I'm talking about as we go through this talk. An extinction event is, there are other terms, mass extinction, biotic crisis, etc. But basically it is a swift and extensive decrease of biodiversity. Entire species, sometimes entire genera, or entire families get wiped out. Impactite is a rock or a stone produced by meteorite or asteroid impact. There are various types of impactites, including tektites, shocked minerals, impact obsidian, melts, partial melts, and sedimentary rocks containing any of the above. Turbidites are stones that are formed from the sediment that has been turned into a slurry. And then as due to the turbidity of the water or the fluid that it's suspended in. And then when the turbidity settles, all these sediments of different sizes settle out, and so you wind up with, instead of the normal separated, heaviest stuff on the bottom, lightest stuff on the top, it's just all kind of muddled up together. A bolide, you've probably all seen one. It's a shooting star that becomes extremely bright and sometimes even looks like it explodes. This is because it generally does. This thing is going ahead of me here. And so you may or may not have fragments reaching the ground depending on how up the explosion occurs. But basically the explosion occurs due to thermal stresses within the meteor. Since I can only see my screen, if anybody has any questions, I'll need it vocalized to me. I'll need somebody to read the question. Okay? KT boundary.
Yes, ma'am. We got you.
Okay. KT boundary stands for Cretaceous Tertiary boundary. The K stands for Cretaceous. The T stands for Tertiary. They'd already used C for one of the other eras or periods. Unfortunately, this is what it's most well known by. It's not the current term because somewhere along the way they decided to change the name of the Tertiary period to the Paleogene. So now it's the KPG boundary. I don't know of anybody that calls it that. It doesn't pronounce nearly as well as KT, so I'm going to call it KT. Oh, come on. Quit going ahead of me here. The Mesozoic era is the age of the dinosaurs and the conifers, ranging from about 262 million years before the present to about 66 million years ago. It consists of the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous periods. Yes, Jurassic Park. Yeah, you got it. The Cretaceous period is the very last period of the Mesozoic era. Started about 145 million years ago and ran to 66 million years ago. The Maastrichtian age was the last age in the Cretaceous. This is running up to the extinction event. The Cenozoic era is the era we're currently living in. It is the modern age, the age of mammals and humans. Its very first period was the Tertiary. Yeah, okay, battery. Yeah. Should have thought about that. Its very first period was the Tertiary, now known as the Paleogene. Started at the extinction event and ran up to about 23 million years ago. Archosaurs are the ruling reptiles. That's the oldest category of reptiles, and it includes all dinosaurs, pterosaurs, crocodilians, birds, and actually most modern reptiles. So it is a very overarching category. Ammonoids, specifically ammonites, these are cephalopods, and the entire ammonoid group is extinct, but they are distantly related to, and some of them look a lot like, the modern nautilus. You'd think it would be a direct connection, but evidently it's not. I don't claim to classify these things. I just tell you like it is. Then there are belemnoids, which is another extinct group of cephalopods. Those are fairly closely related to modern octopi and squid, but they had shells. Bivalves still exists. These are mollusks. They are the classic double-shelled mollusks that we're used to seeing, like clams and scallops, oysters, etc. So these are all going to be discussed in the course of, these are all creatures that were affected by the KT boundary extinction event. Crocodilians, well, we have crocodilians today. Those are the reptile, the branch that contains modern crocodiles and alligators. For those that are interested in such things, believe it or not, here in Huntsville, Alabama, where I am, we have, I'm not that far from the Tennessee River, and there was actually, somebody ran over a gator coming into work the other morning. The gator was out in the middle of the road, and it was dark, and he didn't see him, and ka-dump bump. So yeah, I have some knowledge of the things. Forams, these are basically plankton. They're single-celled organisms they typically have a lot of long pseudopods around a central shell-enclosed body. They're usually microscopic, but they can get bigger. I know guys that their specialty was studying forams, and if you can actually date a rock stratum by the specific forams to be found in them, so they would actually take a piece of rock, slice it down incredibly thin, and shove it under a microscope and see what they could find. And this was how they would date the rock, was determining what forams were in it. It's kind of interesting. I really didn't like the eye strain it produced, but anyway. So then we have Inoceromus, a genus of extinct clams. A pseudopod references things like forams and stuff like that. It's a protrusion from the surface of the cell for the purpose of either moving around or feeding. Amoebas develop pseudopods. Reclining life habit. These are a kind of bivalve lifestyle. They're more sedentary. They don't move around a lot. And so that leads to whatever half of the shell that they're lying on tends to atrophy, and the other half tends to get thicker because they need it for protection. Sometimes they even formed spiral shells. Cephalopods, another class of mollusk, including octopus, squid, cuttlefish, and nautilus, as well as all of those extinct versions. Again, we have another variety of plankton. They create shells, and so these get deposited when that creature dies into the silt on the bottom of the ocean floor. And so, again, we can find them in the sediment and in the rock strata. And sometimes we can date it by those. All right. About 66 million years ago, some 80% of all species on Earth became extinct. Those are land, those are shallow marine, those are deep marine. 80% of all species went extinct. That included virtually all of the dinosaurs, with the sole exception of those that led to modern birds and crocodilians, and virtually all the shallow marine invertebrates. So, as paleontologists studied the geological record, they usually sliced down through it and created cross sections. And they discovered that there was a huge die-off between strata at the boundary. So basically you had all these creatures in the rocks below the boundary, older than the boundary, and none at all above it, especially immediately above it. But every time anywhere on the planet they found the boundary between the Cretaceous and the Tertiary periods, there was always this odd layer of clay. It varied in thickness from place to place on the planet. But then they started analyzing the clay, and they discovered that it had a very high level of an element called iridium. Now, Louis and Walter Alvarez were two of the main investigators on this. They were father-son. You have on the right-hand picture, Louis Alvarez is on the left and Walter's on the right. And Walter actually has his fingertips on the KT boundary clay layer. That dark, thin, dark line there is that clay. They're not quite who you'd expect for scientists investigating an extinction. Louis Alvarez is actually a fairly famous physicist. He's been awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics. He worked in the Manhattan Project. He's done all kinds of work. He helped develop radar. He was actually aboard the Enola Gay when it dropped Little Boy on Hiroshima, because he wanted to measure the shock wave and try to figure out the yield of the blast, etc., etc. He wound up working for what later became Lawrence Livermore Labs. During the war, Walter was born. And Louis continued work at UC Berkeley after the war. By the 1970s, Walter was himself a well-known scientist, but he chose geology. And so he was in Italy exploring the KT boundary, and he was really, really puzzled because nobody could figure out the reason for the mass extinction that was found there. So he came home for a visit, and over dinner one night, he was discussing the whole thing with Dad Louis. And Louis got interested and brought in some of his colleagues from Lawrence Berkeley, Frank Azzaro and Helen Michel. Now, the name Azzaro might mean something to you if you're a science fiction fan, and I expect most of the people listening to me are, because Frank is the father of Catherine Azzaro, the science fiction author. Anyway, Frank and Helen analyzed the clay chemically, and they were the ones who discovered the high iridium content. Now, the thing that you need to realize about iridium is that iridium doesn't occur very much on Earth. And that's what made it interesting. Not only that, but it turned out that the isotopes of iridium found in the clay don't match the common ratio of iridium isotopes normally found on Earth. So, they published it and they began to speculate that it might have been an impact that caused the extinction and laid down this clay that is so high in iridium. Now, this was kind of an interesting situation because after they published the article, they also started finding other things in the clay as they analyzed it more in depth. They found a tremendous amount of soot. They found tiny glassy spheres. They found shocked quartz crystals. They found microscopic diamonds. And they found some extremely rare minerals that are only formed under conditions of great temperature and pressure. So they're almost never found on the surface. You might be able to find a few if you were able to get down to the mantle. And so here's a little bit, it's a larger image of the one I showed you earlier, so you can see a little bit that level of clay, and you can see there it's not really thick. It's kind of a dark brownish green. And again, this is in Italy. Now, the paper was published in 1980 and it didn't go over well. It turns out, if you've ever studied geology, you may have been introduced to the debate between uniformitarianism and catastrophism. This was a huge debate in geology since, I guess, around the Victorian era and running into and through the 20th century. The idea there was that there were two conflicting theories behind how geological processes occurred. Uniformitarianism held that everything occurred slowly and gradually and things eroded and nothing happened very fast. And catastrophism said that no, we have earthquakes, we have volcanic eruptions, everything occurs quickly and suddenly, and you have a change, and then you have a long period of time with nothing, and then you have a change, and then you have a long period of time with nothing, and then you have a change. And like most things, neither one was right. It's somewhere in the middle. Unfortunately, Louis died in 1988 before the matter could be resolved. And in fact, there are still people who argue it. Enter these two guys, Glenn Penfield and Antonio Camargo Zanaguera. Glenn and Antonio. Now, who are they? Well, they're petrogeophysicists, and they worked for the Mexican petroleum company Pemex. And they were prospecting for oil in and around the Gulf of Mexico. They were looking for offshore oil rig drilling sites. And instead, they found a gigantic arc out through the Gulf of Mexico with what Penfield referred to as extraordinary symmetry. It was roughly a semicircle about 40 miles in diameter. It was much too symmetric for a volcanic crater. Never mind, that would be a crater that would be bigger than the Yellowstone caldera. So, it did have a magnetic field, a paleomagnetic field embedded in the rock, and that field shape did not match any known volcanic structures. So he dug up a 1960s era gravity map of the area that Pemex had commissioned. And basically what many people that don't work in this field don't realize is Gravity is not uniform over the surface of the Earth. Anytime you have what's called a mass concentration, produced by a denser rock or a less dense rock, you get variations in the localized gravity. And so these gravity maps, these gravity variation maps, called Bouguer anomaly maps, can tell us a lot about the underlying structure below ground. And so when they dug up the Bouguer anomaly map for the region, they discovered that there was another arc on land on the Yucatan Peninsula, and it made the other half of the circle. And so they began, Pemex knew about this as early as the 1950s. But they didn't really care about the geology. They just wanted to know if there was oil there. So in the 60s, they began drilling into this ring-like structure. Now, mind you, this is 1978 when Glenn and Antonio came up with it, rediscovered it, if you will. But in the 1960s, Pemex was drilling into this ring structure and taking core samples looking for oil. And this continued on into the 70s. And one of their contractors had begun suspecting that it was an impact site, but Pemex corporate policy wouldn't let him publicize this idea because it was all considered company confidential. So, when the Alvarezes came out with their paper in 1980, after the Penfield and his partner discovered the impact site in 1978, Penfield wrote to them and explained what they had found in the Yucatan and got no response. Evidently, it got lost in the mail, or who knows. And so the next year, 1981, the two geophysicists reported the findings to the Society of Exploration Geophysicists annual meeting, and they proposed that it might be the same crater for which the Alvarezes were searching. That wasn't quite the end of the story. You might think it would be, but it wasn't, because there are many today who do not believe that the extinction event was caused by an impact. So things started to happen, however, at that point. So what is the evidence? Well, you have that Bouguer gravity anomaly. You have a magnetic anomaly associated with it. You have the iridium abundance in the clay layer. You have the fact that there's no difference in the composition of the clay that would have been laid down underwater, like at the bottom of the ocean, versus that was laid down on land. Yes, some volcanoes do emit increased iridium, but it's brought up from the mantle, but the isotope ratios are different, as well as the ratio to other heavy metals. They found in this same region, they found volcanic breccias. Now, a breccia is a sedimentary stone in which broken rock fragments have been cemented together. Now, they occur in sedimentary and they occur in volcanic forms. Sedimentary breccias are usually cemented by calcium carbonate deposits. Volcanic breccias are cemented by lava. So they were finding volcanic breccias, broken rock cemented together by lava. They also were finding shock metamorphic material. This is material that's been distorted by the shock of impact. I'm not going to go through a whole bunch of those. I am going to show you what they look like shortly. One of the important features, however, is a shatter cone. This is a fan-shaped three-dimensional structure in rock. It's a fracture caused by high pressure, and the point of the cone points in the direction that the pressure wave is coming from. So they have only ever been found at the site of an impact or a nuclear detonation. It takes that much pressure to form them. Shocked quartz, a quartz crystal whose crystalline structure has been deformed by the pressure wave. Brazil twinning, when the two adjacent quartz crystals actually merged because they partly melted and resolidified. And then something called tektites. Tektite is a kind of obsidian produced by the melting of the impactor and crater material. It tends to rapidly cool in the atmosphere, which means it forms a glass rather than a crystal. And they usually form aerodynamic shapes such as teardrops. There are some numerous tektites found all over the earth. There are only two that I'm aware of that actually have, they're pretty enough to be considered gemstones. And one of those is known as Libyan desert glass, which is a very pretty yellow. The best quality is a very pretty clear yellow. And it was actually used by some of the pharaohs in their jewelry. And the other is a lovely green, and it's called Moldavite, and it's in it's near the Moldau River in Eastern Europe. And those, to me, those are the more interesting because of the shapes of the raw pieces. It's kind of fluted lace-like, and nobody really understands why it's that shape. They found a lot of those, a lot of tektites. Usually tektites are just kind of a black, brown, bubbly thing. They also found turbidite deposits. Remember, we talked about those. And they found spherules, tiny little spheres of feldspar. They found osmium, which is another rare element that normally is not found on the surface of Earth. And they found it with the isotopes in cosmic ratios. The carbon isotope evidence indicates that plankton synthesis virtually halted at that point. They found not just iridium and osmium, but lots and lots of all of the platinum group of metals. But none of them had terrestrial ratios. They all had cosmic ratios. Gold, platinum, osmium, iridium, all of these. And they have found this in other regions of the planet associated with impact structures, such as the Ackerman crater in Australia. Fossil pollen, believe it or not, if you use a microscope, you can find fossilized pollen in rock. I don't like the eye strain. Ain't going there. But they discovered that the fossilized pollen just stopped at that clay layer. You can find it below the clay layer. Above it, you have to go several strata up before you start seeing any more fossilized pollen. They found a tremendous amount of shocked quartz in the layer in Montana. And expert geologist Bevan French concluded that, therefore, the impact likely occurred within 3,500 miles of the Montana site. The distribution of the ejecta seems to decrease with increasing distance from the Yucatan, which thereby points to the Yucatan as the site of origin. And basically, scientists have concluded that 79% of plants contemporary with the time went extinct at the KT boundary. There are, as I mentioned earlier, very high concentrations of soot in that clay layer, which kind of tells you what might have happened to the plants. And if you look at the crater on the map, if you look at the Yucatan Peninsula, you find that something called cenotes, basically usually water-filled sinkholes, line and define the rim of the crater on the peninsula. And this was all discovered within the first 10 years after the Alvarez, Asaro, and Michelle paper was released. Got any questions? I'm going to stop and drink some water. Any questions so far? All right.
No questions.
Okay.
Okay. I did find you a pretty picture of your crater, though. Artist rendition.
Oh, okay.
Hang on just a second. Let's see.
Do I need to stop share?
Nope. I'll get it, actually.
Sorry about that. My mic was muted. No, we don't have any questions. What I was going to say is I had taken my headphones off to work on something. Sorry about that. Have you already got all the way through, Stephanie?
Oh no.
Okay.
I just took a break so I could sip some water.
Oh, okay. We've got a slight programming change. There isn't going to be a 7:00 panel, so we're working to figure out what to do. I'm working behind the scenes. So,
okay.
Slight programming change, but we'll find something. So,
okay.
Everybody watching, don't panic. We will have something.
let me know if I can help out.
Okay, I'll give you that holler. But just continue on, John. If you would help monitor the room, and if anybody asks any questions,
okay.
Carl Whitson says you're all good so far. So
okay. Everybody understanding me? Okay.
Yeah, is everybody understanding and picking up?
Sounds fine. Saying? Looks good. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna jump back out of here, guys.
Okay. And moving right along, da-da-dum. Yes, I love the Muppet.
That is a picture of. It's kind of a artist impression of what the Yucatan crater would have looked like after the impact, and you can see the coastline running right up to the. Let me do this. You can see the coastline running right up to the middle of it, and these are the two. And those are the two different rings that supposedly were created, and that's when she was talking about the pools and puddles that were formed.
Yeah. That
was. I guess essentially this area.
And I'm gonna show some maps and things like that here shortly. I wanted to throw all this out there so people would have it in their heads when I started showing the imagery and stuff. But I want to see that. Right now I've got my slideshow up, so it's filling my screen, so I can't see that.
Okay. Okay. I'll keep a track of it and show it to you later.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. Now, here's some additional important evidence that came out after that first 10 years. So see, there's still evidence that is continuing to be found even today. So the Deccan traps were a kind of supervolcano. There's two kinds of supervolcanoes. One is called a trap, and the other is called a caldera, mega caldera. Mega calderas tend to be explosive. Traps tend to be what's called effusive. The lava is thin and runny, and they will open up in vast fields of parallel cracks and just ooze incredible amounts of lava all over the landscape. The Deccan traps were about this time frame over in what later became what is now India, and just laid out just literally millions of cubic miles of lava in 4 separate major ongoing eruptions. I mean, it wasn't like, it erupted for a couple of days and it stopped. No, this was like it erupted for several years and then it stopped. And then later on erupted for several more years and then it stopped. So it did this 4 times. Some people say that no, the Deccan traps were the cause of the eruption of the extinction. Well, no, because it turns out that an intertrapian layer is a layer of sediment laid down in between trap eruptions. So you have a layer of lava, and then you'll have layers of sediment, and you have another layer of lava, and then layers of sediment. So the layers of lava are the trappean layers, and the layers of sediment are the intertrappean layers. Is in an intertrappean layer. It's not immediately after the lava. It's not after the traps erupted. So you've got ongoing stuff looking fairly normal up until you have this boundary layer, and then bluey, nothing. And then you go on for a little ways, and then you have another lava layer. So that seems to indicate to me that the Deccan traps probably are not the cause of the extinction. And they were, in fact, erupting for a considerable time prior to the extinction because, see, that would mean they've had at least 3 eruptions prior to. Dadgummit, why is it running ahead of me? Now, the osmium isotope layers have been ratios have been studied considerably for the last 80 million years. Now, by that, I don't mean that we've been studying them for 80 million years. I mean the last 80 million years of sediments, of strata, have been studied for the osmium isotope ratios. All of the osmium ratios are terrestrial except for the KT layer. If you were to take all of the iridium in all of the modern oceans put together, you'd have about 1/1000th that is found in the KT clay layer. There is 1,000 times more iridium in that thin little clay layer worldwide than you can find in all of the modern oceans together. If you were to take it all out of the oceans, you'd have 1,000 times more in that clay layer. They found shocked zircon crystals. And unlike others found elsewhere in the geologic strata, these shocked zircon crystals were extremely deficient in lead. And what does that have to do with the price of tea in China? Well, lead, of all metals, has an extremely low melting point. It also has an extremely low vaporization point. So if you had an impact, it's an impact or a nuke are about the only 2 things that could vaporize the lead out of a zircon crystal. And they're just finding more and more that there's just tremendous numbers of tiny little microscopic diamonds found at the boundary layer. Now, diamonds are not found on the surface of the earth. They are not produced on the surface of the earth. If you find a diamond on the surface, it's because you are standing in what used to be a volcano. And that volcano brought the diamond up from the mantle. So stop and think about that for a minute. Takes a lot of pressure to form a diamond. Now in 2016, there was a drilling project into the Peak Ring. And by the way, the impact site is known as the Chicxulub crater, or the Chicxulub impactor. And because Chicxulub, it's a little fishing village on the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula that's very, very close to what would have been the center of the impact. It's very close to the center of the crater. And so this drilling project confirmed that the Peak Ring was made up of granite, unlike anything normally seen in the crust. It wasn't normal seafloor rock, which would have been sedimentary. It comprised granite ejected from the mantle. There was also evidence of just colossal seawater movement afterwards. Now, the thing that you have to remember about the seawater movement is that at the time of the impact, and we know there was an impact there, the argument is just whether or not it caused the extinction event. At the time of the impact, that area was underwater. That area was a seafloor. It was a shallow sea, but it was a seafloor. The core samples also showed a virtually complete absence of the mineral gypsum. And that's the usual seafloor rock in the region. And it contains sulfates. But sulfates, like lead, have a low melting point. They would have been vaporized and dispersed as an aerosol into the air. Additional drilling research showed that there were multiple episodes of overwash of the crater as the water came back in and washed over it in multiple waves. And the amount of impactites that were deposited in the floor of the crater were just astounding. That granite that they found was pink. That's normally found deep in the crust down near the mantle. And that indicates very deep penetration of the impactor. That impactor very nearly cracked the crust. And there just wasn't any gypsum there. Now, here's some pictures for you. This are the types of things that they were found. These are some of the things that I was showing you earlier. All right, swavite is a type of impact breccia. You see those dark angular rocks? Those are the broken rocks, and then the lighter rock in between is the lava that cemented it all together. The largest fragments are 9 inches across, folks, nearly a foot across. That's some honking big chunks of rock. The center top, that's what a shatter cone looks like. You see how it's pointed off to, all of them are pointed off to the right? That means that the pressure wave from the impact came from the right and translated through the rock and just broke the rock all to pieces. Come on now, stop this. Top right, this is what shocked quartz looks like if you're looking at it with polarized light. And you can see that you've got what's called shock lamellae, which are the layers as the pressure wave moved through the crystal, it distorted and shifted the crystal structure. And then bottom left, prasiolite is a variation of amethyst. It's a quartz crystal. Prasiolite is usually slightly green to very green. But you don't see that here because we're looking at crossed polarized light. And so you can see that there are effectively 2 separate crystals there. This is what's known as a Brazil twin, where the effect on the crystal was essentially to partly melt it and cause the 2 adjacent crystals, as they gradually recrystallized, to merge. Except that we can see that they didn't quite merge, so they're twins. Think of them as conjoined twins, if you will, in the crystal world. All right, up close and personal with the clay. All right, what you see there in that little sample is 4 distinct layers. You see a very pale cream color on the bottom. Then you see a greenish brown, then a dark brown, then a light brown. If you look at that greenish brown layer just above his fingertip there as he's pointing to it, That is the iridium clay. That's the KT boundary clay. Now, this is an actual map which includes the coastline of the Yucatan. So that's the northwest coast. It includes the gravity anomaly, and it includes a map of the cenotes as the little white dots. So you can see, unfortunately I can't point to it, but you can see one ring, smaller ring. You can see that there's a bit of a peak in the center. You can see on land a semicircle outer ring. The rest of the ring was probably eroded by the wash of the ocean. And you'll notice that if you look very, very closely, you can see that outer semicircle. All of the cenotes are in and around that semicircle or moving out from it. Probably weaknesses generated by the shock waves. So we're not entirely sure why the cenotes are so closely associated with the ring. If I had to put an educated guess on it, I'd say that the underlying rock structures were weakened and fractured and enabled, since a cenote is basically a sinkhole, it probably enabled additional weathering along the fracture lines. And so you wound up with more cenotes concentrated in the area of the fractures. And what this picture doesn't show you is that there is a series of parallel faults off to the right that were apparently produced. They're associated with the crater and apparently produced by the impact. And it is in that general direction where the rest of the cenotes are occurring there in that image. And here's a larger scale map that shows you what I'm talking about. The blue is the outer ring where the cenotes are. The crater center is there, essentially right on the coast near the little town of Chicxulub. And there was virtually continuous ejecta out to the dotted yellow ring. And you can see numerous fracture and fault zones there, most likely produced by the impact, as well as several exploratory expeditions that did drill cores and the like, and the sites there. Now, let's talk about the impactor for a minute. It was undoubtedly a very large bolide of some sort. I have a range of velocities, diameters, and masses depending on exactly what the impactor was composed of. The options are nickel iron meteorite or asteroid, stony asteroid, or comet material, comet fragment. And so you're looking at a velocity of anywhere from 2,800 up to over 16,000 miles an hour. That latter is reasonable for going to the moon. Estimated diameter of anywhere from around 10 kilometers or about 6 miles up to about 50 miles wide. We generally tend to trend, we think that it was on the lower end of that. And we're looking at anywhere from 2 with 15 zeros after it up to a 1 with 18 zeros after it if you want to estimate the mass in pounds. Not small. Now, efforts have been made to try to figure out what family of asteroids it might have been from. When I say family, what do I mean? Well, it turns out that we can group most asteroids into families based on their apparent composition, their apparent orbits, their physical characteristics like brightness, reflectivity, mass, things like that. And it's believed that each family of asteroids probably originated from one or two much larger asteroids that collided. So they collided and broke up. And so each family of asteroids would track back to one of these collisions. So the Baptistina family of asteroids is one possibility for the Chicxulub impactor's origin. But the best estimate we have currently for that collision that produced the Baptistina family is about 14 million years earlier than the KT impact. And while we might think 14 million years is a long time, that actually isn't that long for the shatter fragments to expand out and the orbits to sync up sufficient for one of the fragments to impact Earth. A better option would make it part of the Flora family, and this would tend to place the impactor on the smaller, slower, more massive end of the range. So that would make it about a 2,800 mile an hour, 6 mile wide impactor with about 10 to the 18th pounds contained within it. There is a possibility that it could have been a comet. However, the iridium abundance in comets is only about half of what is usually found in asteroids. And so they actually sat down and tried to determine the amount of iridium in the KT layer and figure that out. And so comets being much less dense, it would have had to have been much larger and much faster. They typically are falling in from the Oort cloud out past Pluto as opposed to the asteroid belt. And so you'd get something that was moving a lot faster, would be a lot bigger, and would probably be somewhat less massive. But the current probability, based on all the data that they've been able to pull out so far, is that it was an asteroid. The impact itself, you're talking about something that the energy of impact was over 100,000 gigatons. And when you consider that the biggest nuke we've ever detonated was only 50 megatons, you're looking at an event that was 2 million times more powerful than the biggest nuke we've ever been able to build. We don't know for sure how deep that crater is, because all of the material backwashed and filled it in. It may be as deep as 30 miles or better. It was over 100 miles across. It may have been closer to 200. And you're looking at a temperature at the center of impact very close to 20,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Not something that you'd want to be anywhere close to. It would have generated winds around 600 miles an hour, give or take. The air blast damage radius would have been over 1,100 miles. And the sound that it made when it hit would have been well over 100 decibels. Since it landed in water, it would have generated a mega tsunami from the splash. And we're looking at anywhere from over 150 feet up to 1,000 feet. And it may have gone, at least in areas, as high as a mile high. And I'm talking about a wall of water, people. The estimated inland reach of that initial mega tsunami was at least 100 kilometers. The depth of sand deposit in the crater area from the backwash is at least 100 meters. So you're looking at 300 to 425 feet of sand backwashed into the crater. There is evidence that from a paper that was not yet published. I need to verify whether or not it ever got published. Evidently, all ocean basins were affected by this initial mega tsunami. And it then reflected and refracted around the land masses. For those of you that may remember the December 2004 Boxing Day tsunami in the Indian Ocean, 2,600 times more powerful than that sucker. And that was only the initial mega tsunami. The initial quake would have been estimated at greater than a magnitude 10, possibly as high as 11 or 12. And that would in turn have generated titanic underwater landslides, which would in their turn have generated secondary mega tsunamis. It would also have generated seismic seiches around the world. A seiche is a localized wave similar to a tsunami, but it's kind of a bathtub slosh. Think of it well, you've seen them. You've probably seen videos of a seiche setting up in swimming pools in California, where they slop out of the sides of the swimming pools. That's a seiche. Those will occur not just in man-made bodies of water like swimming pools. They will occur in lakes and rivers and ponds and streams, usually generated by the arrival of earthquake waves. So if we extrapolate from the 2011 quake in Tohoku, Japan, which was a magnitude 9, and it generated about a 5-foot seiche, we can estimate that the seiches that the Chicxulub earthquake generated were on the order of anywhere from 33 up to over 300 feet high. Tanis is a site in the Dakotas that has been much studied for this. It is a KT extinction event site, and it was very near a creek, Hell Creek, and they estimate that the seiche there was at least 10 meters. Meter is a little bit more than a yard, so probably around 35 feet high. At the time that the impact occurred, North America was actually 2 continents. There was a seaway, a broad seaway that went down diagonally from roughly the Gulf, we'll say the Gulf of Mexico, up to towards the northwest. And so the seiche probably occurred in the western interior seaway, and the Hell Creek spilled into the seaway. So it probably just backwashed up the creek. The area of impact was extremely rich in hydrocarbons and sulfur compounds. The estimated burned carbon from those hydrocarbons that would have been injected into the stratosphere was on the order of 1,800 to 6,000 teragrams. You can work out, it's upwards of 65, let's see, what is it? 6.5 billion tons of carbon. And that would have been just from the hydrocarbons. the petroleum. It doesn't count the sulfur combustion products. And it doesn't count what happened to the plants around the world. So you're looking at trillions of tons of greenhouse gases released into the atmosphere by this impact. There were, in the core samples in the peak ring, the topmost layer of debris contained a lot of organic material, and the very top of that organic material was charcoal. And that's an indication that there were widespread firestorms. So in the aftermath, there would have been also a nuclear winter produced by the ejecta, the debris injected into the stratosphere that blocked the sunlight, volcanic, quote-unquote, ash, because it really wasn't a volcano, but it would have been of a similar composition, plus smoke from the wildfires. So anything that, any photosynthetic plants that survived the wildfires would have died from the lack of sunlight. And this then would have produced a cascade of extinction up through the herbivores, then to the carnivores, and eventually to the scavengers. Some of the stratospheric material was in the form of sulfur compounds. As this gradually settled and began to fall out of the atmosphere, it would have formed acid rain. And you wind up with nitrogen and oxygen reacting from the energy of impact, forming nitric acid. So now you have sulfuric and nitric acid falling out of the sky. The oceans rapidly acidified as a result, particularly the shallow waters. Marine ecology collapsed. The forams and the plankton died off. And just the very initial rebound would have taken tens of thousands of years to recover. And to get back to something approximating normal would have been potentially millions of years. Now, this next bit here is something that I compiled, and I hope it is understandable to you. I color-coded it. I put together a timeline of events for the impact. If it's orange, this is ground zero. This is Chicxulub itself. If it is white, it's about 1,000 kilometers from the impact, or around about the distance of New Orleans from the Yucatan. If it's yellow, this is the Tanis site in North Dakota. That's that distance. And if it is gray, it is a worldwide event. So hopefully you can get a feel for that. For what it's worth, Chattanooga is a little bit further than New Orleans, so it's just over 1,000 miles. But you can take the New Orleans information and apply it to Chattanooga. So at T-0, we have impact.
Hey, Stephanie, right before you get into this, we got a few questions. Do you want to take a break, get you a sip of water, and ask a couple questions real quick?
Go for it.
Okay. Let's roll back up here. Carl Whitzman, who is one of our great benefactors here. Of course, Stephanie Osborne, or Ruth Jackson says, "Yay, Stephanie, absolute favorite rocket scientist and weather reporter." But Carl Whitzman says he almost became a paleontologist at one time. Ended up becoming an IT specialist.
Well, there's a big difference.
Yeah. And talking about the angle of the impact, he says it was almost like a bullet hitting the earth. There was almost no angle in the impact.
in case you can't hear, I have a cat trying to help answer the questions.
Yes, I've noticed that.
He's part Siamese, so he's loud.
Yeah.
That is still being debated. It's a relatively round crater, so yeah, it would seem to me to be that it was a relatively high angle of impact, very nearly 90 degrees. Others have argued that it was a much shallower impact, more like 45 degrees or so. But it's been my experience those tend to produce more elliptical, more oval-shaped craters than this one is. So that is still under debate. Just like there's still people debating that this was not the cause of the extinction event.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would take it as being a relatively high angle of impact.
Okay, so pretty much it coming into the atmosphere, there was, of course, nothing was survivable, but there wouldn't have been much more than a bright flash before the boom.
Yeah. The asteroid would barely have noticed the atmosphere. It would not have noticed the water at all. The first thing it would have noticed would have been bang into the rock.
Yeah. And Chris Walker, when you were describing, the size of the impact, he goes, "Dang, that was a lot of kinetic energy."
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Could that possibly be where our tilt came from?
Where our what?
Our planetary tilt?
No, that would have been that was more than likely mostly in existence when the planet formed.
Okay.
Remember that this was far and away from being the first impact that Earth has had, and in fact, the moon is probably the result of two planets colliding. That's probably where the tilt came from.
From that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Of course, Chris Walker is talking about Carl. He traded one type of silicone for another.
Yeah. I have my husband brought me a new headset. I lost my old headset, guys, just a couple of days ago. So I'm going to try plugging it in and seeing how it works.
Okay.
All right. So y'all just bear with me a second here.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, while you're doing that, I'm going to run a little quick commercial. How's that sound?
That works.
And it'll also mute you down. Let me find the commercial. I'm sort of proud of this commercial because it's for HallowCon's merchandise. And we're back. Do you think that got it?
Test 1 2, test 1 2.
Oh man, you sound a whole lot better now.
Okay. All right. Good deal.
That worked.
Am I loud enough?
Oh yes, you're actually louder.
Do I need to? Am I too loud?
You look like you're back in mission control.
It feels kind of like it too.
Yeah.
Okay. How's that?
Yeah, it sounds great.
Okay.
All right. We're gonna drop back out.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Okay. All right. We're going to jump back out and let Stephanie continue her panel. She's got about another 45 minutes that she can kill. Or when you get to the end, we'll start really asking for questions and everything else. How does that sound?
All right. Sounds good. All right. So let's get into the timeline that I put together. Now mind, this timeline, some of it I was able to pull from online references. Some of it I had to calculate based on some rough estimates, like especially the various earthquake waves, because the seismic waves travel at different velocities depending on the material they're traveling through. So what I would try to do was take a rough average of the range of speeds of each given type of wave and the distance, and do a rough calculation. So some of this it's approximate. All right. So at time t0 impact, we have a crater blasted about 30 miles deep. 5 seconds later, the central peak has rebounded upward, temporarily forming a mountain higher than Mount Everest. 4 seconds after that, the thermal radiation blast heads outward. Plants are spontaneously combusted. Animals suffer instant 3rd to 6th degree burns at NOLA. And all life within a radius of about 1,000 miles dies instantly. At the 3-minute mark, the central peak collapses, flooding the crater with lava. Only the outer part of the peak ever got a chance to solidify. The inside was still basically super molten. So the crater is now flooded with lava. It splashes against the periphery and rebounds, and it's cooling rapidly, and so the lava splash forms a ring of tall peaks as it solidifies. A little over a minute later, a magnitude 10 plus earthquake strikes New Orleans as the first of the earthquake waves arrives. 10 seconds later, seismic seiches begin to set up in inland waters. A little over a minute after that, the second earthquake wave strikes New Orleans. And about half a minute after that, the P wave reaches the Tanis site in North Dakota. So 6 minutes after impact, and the first massive earthquake has hit North Dakota from the Yucatan Peninsula. At the 8-minute mark, molten ejecta begins to fall at New Orleans, and secondary fires ignite anything that was not burned in the thermal blast. The atmosphere begins to heat up. An atmospheric shock wave may hit New Orleans. 20 seconds later, the last of the two earthquake waves, Love and Rayleigh surface waves, strike New Orleans for a total quake duration at New Orleans of 5 to 6 minutes minimum. At the 9-minute mark, there is so much rock ash and smoke in the atmosphere that it begins to dim. The light begins to dim to complete darkness worldwide. At the 10-minute mark, the S wave reaches the Tanis site in North Dakota. At the 13-minute mark, the last of the two, the Love and Rayleigh waves, reach the Tanis site in North Dakota for a total quake duration in North Dakota of at least 7 minutes. At the 15-minute mark, the first ejecta begins to fall at Tanis. This ignites fires at Tanis. Think of it as a wave of ejecta moving out from the crater and landing worldwide, okay? Because yes, it is going to go worldwide. There will be ejecta that achieved escape velocity. But anything that fell short of escape velocity is going to fall on the opposite side of the planet. At the 20-minute mark, seawater resurges into the crater and surmounts the peak ring, carrying about 130 feet worth of impact-type debris and depositing it across the crater at 130-foot depth. At the 45-minute mark, another atmospheric shock wave may hit New Orleans. At the 1 hour mark, the peak ring is completely breached, not just surmounted, but completely broken up in the northeast by the resurge. And another 33 feet worth of impact-tide is deposited. This is a little bit more rounded, a little bit more sorted, and that means that it has traveled further through the turbulence and had a chance to round off. At the 1 hour, 10-minute mark, the first mega tsunami strikes New Orleans. Remember, mile high. 30 minutes after that, the ejecta has reached the opposite side of the planet, and fires are now raging worldwide. At the 2 hour mark, ejecta has finally stopped falling at New Orleans. But 30 minutes later, the secondary mega tsunamis from the underwater landslides begin to hit. At the 3 hour mark, the sky gradually lightens to twilight levels, and Earth begins to enter a nuclear winter. It is estimated that this nuclear winter dropped global temperatures by as much as 30 degrees Fahrenheit for anywhere from 1 year to several decades. At the 5 hour mark, the acid rain begins to fall at New Orleans. At the 6 hour mark, the smallest animals begin to suffer silicosis from ash inhalation, very far away from the impact site. Silicosis is a nasty little disease. Basically, it's in this particular instance, they would have been inhaling what amounts to fiberglass, broken up fiberglass. So it's very sharp little bits of volcanic glass that get down into the lungs and slash holy hell out of the lung tissue. So about a week after the impact, the first animals begin to die of the secondary effects, silicosis and injury. About a month and a quarter into this event, starvation begins to take its toll. And anywhere from 1 to 50 years later, you finally have the material blocking the sun is finally settling out. Nuclear winter ends and the atmosphere begins to clear. Temperatures begin to warm. Unfortunately, what we have now is all of the greenhouse gases that were ejected into the atmosphere by the impact take over. And temperatures now soar. And we reach the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum, which lasts for another 200,000 years before temperatures begin to cool again. So all said, the total effect of this one impact would have lasted 200,000 years. And remember, we had an impact, we had a megaquake, we had multiple worldwide mega tsunamis, we had a worldwide firestorm, we had worldwide molten ejecta, we had a nuclear winter followed by runaway greenhouse. All from one impact. The minimum amount that the global temperatures would have decreased in the nuclear winter would have been around 4 to 5 degrees Fahrenheit. May have been as much as 30 degrees. Photosynthesis would have ceased. There's no sun. It's dark. The plants begin to die. The herbivores that eat the plants begin to starve. The predators that eat the herbivores begin to starve. And eventually you start getting scavenger effects. So the scavengers initially have a heyday. They've got lots of dead stuff they can eat. What happens when the dead stuff runs out? And once again, as I said, as the ash begins to fall out, the greenhouse gases take over. And so you have a a severe dip followed by an incredible climb.
Okay.
Britannica.com, huh?
I'm going to jump back in here where you're talking about the ash and the runaway greenhouse. So, in essence, we were almost like what Jupiter is today on a runaway greenhouse.
No, it wasn't complete runaway. It would have been Venus, but there actually, interestingly enough, once things finally started to rebound, it rebounded nicely, and we had a lot of happy plant matter because of the warm temperatures. But the initial destruction was just incredible. But no, it wouldn't have been. It would have been like quite like Venus, but it would have run until an equilibrium was found.
Yeah.
Between heat being absorbed and heat being radiated.
Carl Whitzman added in here. He says, if someone wrote this into a novel, nobody would believe it.
Yeah.
And then he added in, it's a wonder that anything survived at all.
Yeah, it really is. But interestingly enough, and we'll get to that hopefully in a little bit, this was not the worst extinction event.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's get on to it then. And
okay.
I'm going to jump back out.
Okay, so only about 13% of the plankton remained alive. Entire groups of mollusks were wiped out. Corals were reduced to about a fifth of the species that existed prior. One entire type of bivalve just went away. There were widespread species extinctions of angiosperms, which are plants, a type of plant. Entire groups of reptiles died out. Some died out before the KT boundary, and these include the flying reptiles and a lot of the sea reptiles. But among the surviving reptile groups, turtles, crocodilians, lizards, and snakes were only mildly affected. Amphibians and mammals also were relatively mildly affected. Why? Because they were small, didn't take much to eat, and mostly lived underground. %8 of all terrestrial vertebrates were lost, 10% of freshwater vertebrates, incredibly dense dinosaur bone beds, marine bone beds. The Tanis site has tree, freshwater marine, saltwater marine, and terrestrial fossil beds. And none of these fossil beds shows evidence of scavenging, despite having been only very shallowly buried by the ash. And that means that there had been a depletion of scavengers as well in the whole cataclysm. And it would have been a cataclysm. Of the archosaurs that survived, you have the crocodilians and the avian dinosaurs. Mammals survived, some amphibians, some of the smaller reptiles, the very deep water dwellers. The omnivores, insectivores, and scavengers tended to fare better than straight predators or straight herbivores. The first plants to rebound were the ferns, and that's pretty typical. They're usually the first repopulators after any natural disaster of the sort. But now we're starting to get into some of the giant ferns and stuff because of the warmth as the greenhouse gases took over. There are alternate theories. What are these other alternate theories? Well, some statistical studies indicate, based on the fossil record, that most of the dinosaur groups were already in decline during the late Cretaceous. This does not include the herbivore groups, which actually seem to have been proliferating during that period. And while this particular study says that basically what they're saying was happening at the time was that the various and sundry species and groups were weakened by the inability to replace extinct species with new ones, and this left them vulnerable to stressor events. Not everybody agrees that there was even a decline, so that is also in dispute. We already talked about the Deccan traps. You're looking at 600,000 square miles of land that was covered 1.25 miles deep with lava. That's about 750,000 cubic miles of lava over the course of the various and sundry eruptions. The hypothesis here is that the release of copious ash and carbon and sulfur compound aerosols into the air would have blocked the light and caused a nuclear winter before then turning around and causing that runaway greenhouse effect. My problem with this is that traps are generally not highly eruptive. Think of, everybody remembers the recent Hawaiian eruption with the long fissures running through the neighborhoods and stuff. Think about that raised in terms of extent, raised a couple of orders of magnitude. And that's what a trap eruption is. I think that getting the ash high enough in the atmosphere to have a worldwide negative effect would have been very difficult. Arguably, the gas components, the greenhouse gas components, would have been localized as well, but I can see the argument that it would have been dispersed. However, the plankton study that indicated rapid ocean acidification indicates that this did not happen in the first 3 eruptions of the traps. You would think if it was going to happen, it would happen from the very beginning of the eruption. Apparently, it did not. And remember, the actual boundary layer is in between the layers of eruption. So the hypothesis that the Deccan traps single-handedly caused it is no longer widely accepted. That said, even the Alvarezes admitted that huge megaquake, worldwide megaquake, could well have contributed to the eruption, as well as to any active volcanoes elsewhere. So think about adding that into the mix. Every volcano that had the potential of erupting would have erupted. Some people have said, no, there were multiple impactors. You had the Chicxulub impactor in Mexico, about 180 kilometers across. You had the Boltish crater in the Ukraine, about 24 kilometers across. You have the Silver Pit crater in the North Sea. It's about 20 kilometers across. You have a proposed crater that we don't even know is really there off the western India coast, which might be as big as 500 to 600 kilometers across. But we don't even know if that's real because the Deccan traps overflowed it. And then any other craters in the ancient ocean would have been lost by tectonic movement. If we take all these and we reconstruct the position of the tectonic plates at the time, this would have formed an equatorial swath. So some people are proposing that Earth was hit by a breakup akin to Comet Shoemaker Levy 9 hitting Jupiter back in the, I guess it was the 90s. Possible. But I mean, look at the size of Chicxulub compared to the others. And we don't even, Shiva would have been way big, but if all of this happened from Chicxulub, Shiva could have been a planet killer, if it actually is there at all.
Miss Osborne, we got a quick question and commentary. This is from one of our own, Chris Walker. It says, so at least 1,000 times more powerful and destructive than the blast at Doom Pompeii. I think that 1,000 should be hundreds of thousands at this point.
Probably, yeah. By the way, just throwing this out there, it turns out that Vesuvius is actually part of a supervolcano, and the modern city of Naples is sitting in the caldera. Just thought I'd throw that out there. All right. Another possible explanation is something called Maastrichtian sea level regression. The last age of the Cretaceous period was the Maastrichtian age. And there does appear to be indisputable evidence that the sea levels fell by a substantial margin. And they don't seem to show the tilting and distortion associated with mountain building. So there may have been a drop in sea level, though we don't know why there would have been one. The currently accepted explanation is that the mid-ocean ridges became less active and sank under their own weight. The problem with this is that the mid-ocean ridges are powered by the convection of the mantle, and that's part of the whole plate tectonics movement. So that has got some issues in itself, because now you're going, wait a minute, you're saying the mantle slowed down? What would have caused that? And why would it have ever speeded back up? So you've got that problem. Then you've also got the consideration that, yes, while this would have wreaked havoc on shallow marine animals, it wouldn't have affected the deep water animals, and it wouldn't have affected land creatures at all. And all of them were drastically affected by the KT extinction. So the Maastrichtian sea level regression is an insufficient explanation. And so then you've also got the people that are like, oh, well, it's multiple choice. So you pick one from column A, one from column B, one from column C, until you have sufficient conditions for the extinction. The thing of it is, and this is my logic coming to the fore here, okay? A sufficient condition is a sufficient condition. If the impact itself wasn't enough, you had the thermal blast. If the thermal blast wasn't enough, you had the megaquake. If the megaquake wasn't enough, you had the worldwide multiple mega tsunamis. If that wasn't enough, you had the underwater mega slides. If that wasn't enough, you had the worldwide firestorm. If that wasn't enough, you had the nuclear winter. If that wasn't enough, you had the silicosis. If that wasn't enough, you had the resulting. At what point do you say enough's enough? This was a titanic worldwide catastrophe.
So what you're saying is it basically created its own Goldilocks scenario by being so many catastrophic events and styles of events all in the same time.
Yeah, and I mean, most of those occurred within hours.
And some within minutes, so there was no way for us to rebound as a planet. Chris Walker also jumped in and asked one quick question. How did Vesuvius blast at Doom Pompeii and the Krakatoa's eruption compare to one another? I'm assuming on their level of destruction and their catastrophic nature to the planet itself.
I would need to look up the relative volcanic explosivity index of the two eruptions. But Krakatoa was bigger.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
I can try and do that here shortly once I finish this.
Absolutely.
So we've got that, and Chicxulub is far from being the only impact site. It's also far from being the only extinction event. Notice that you have these are the top 5 extinction events. There are others. Notice that you have one, the Permian Triassic extinction event was known as the Great Dying. You're talking at better than 90% of everything alive at that time died. So here are those extinction events, and here are some possible causes put forward for each of them. The Ordovician-Silurian extinction event, there were 2 separate events kind of back to back there. And one of the possibilities is a gamma ray burst for that one. It was pretty bad, but it was relatively early on. The Vilui traps, another trap supervolcano in what is now Russia, is purported to be the cause of the late Devonian extinction, which was not huge. And then you have the Great Dying, and once again, notice the Siberian traps are a possibility, but then you've got another impact event. Wilkes Land is in Antarctica. Antarctica was not in Antarctica when that happened. In other words, it was not South Polar. And then there's something called an anoxic event, which is kind of complex. It involves trapping the oxygen chemically so that it's not available for the animals. And then you have the Triassic-Jurassic event. And again, you have the Central Atlantic Magmatic Province, and that's another trap event. And once again, you have a possible impactor. And then you have the KT event. So those are, and there's by most counts, there's at least about 25 total extinction events in the course of the geologic record. Most are considered to be caused by either some sort of supervolcano event or impact events. You can find a list of all of those on Wikipedia. Wikipedia is a good jumping off place. So far, I've in the geology and in the astronomy and physics, they're generally pretty good. Occasionally, I find some glitches in the astronomy stuff. But if you're sticking with some basic things like this, it's a good jumping off point. I use it sometimes in these sorts of things simply because it tends to be an easy read for the non-scientist. So, if you want more information, I do have the ebook out there. I can cram more into an ebook than I can possibly cram into a 1 to 2 hour talk. So, and this actually started out as a 1 hour talk, and I found that I got so many questions that I asked Joe if I could have 2 hours. So, and he said yes. So, and yeah, notice the cheeseburger.
The cheeseburger is wonderful.
Yes. So there's the ebook. It's available for Kindle and Nook, and go have a look, please. And here are some of my other science ebooks. Kiss Your Ash Goodbye is about the Yellowstone supervolcano. It contains a lot of information about supervolcanoes in general, including much of the material that I mentioned today. Rock and Roll is about the New Madrid fault system, which is a series of faults that runs basically under the Mississippi River. everybody's heard of the San Andreas Fault. Very few people know about the New Madrid. And it's actually more powerful and has the potential for taking down a significant portion of the country if it goes in a big way.
And that is your panel tomorrow afternoon. Is that correct?
Yes.
From 3 until 5, am I?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have the
No,
schedule.
wait. No, that was today, wasn't it? No, 5, what?
Hang
on, I've got it. I've got it.
From 5 to 7 was today's panel.
Yeah, from 3 to 5 tomorrow.
Yeah. And I'm going to actually overwork you tomorrow because we got you got your 2-hour panel and then you're doing a follow-up panel.
Yes.
Just after that.
A little fun and games.
Yeah. That's what I'm looking for. And Carl Whitzman says he needs the New Madrid book. So that would be an ebook on Amazon, or
it's available on Amazon and BarnesNoble.com. It's Kindle and Nook, whichever one he's got is he can get. Oh, now, to give you an idea of the sort of research I do for these things.
3, 4, 4.5 pages of
barely anything, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And Ruth says she absolutely enjoyed your talk about the New Madrid Fault a couple of years ago. And that's the one tomorrow, so that's going to be a real good one.
So, alrighty. So I am back.
Yeah.
And so do we have any more questions?
Yeah, if anybody's got any quick questions now, we can start fielding the questions. We got about 10 minutes to let Stephanie talk.
Let's see what we got here. It looks like Mr. Carl Whitzman has a little something for us. Hold on, here we go. It says, people who argue against impactors, they are more protecting of their own little science domains, like a paradigm shift, or protecting their funding flow.
Yeah, it's their pet theories. That's what it meant. Scientists are just like anybody else. We are once we reach a certain age, we become resistant to change. And so we get inured in a given way of thinking about things. And we don't want to be forced to change our minds. This is the way it always has been. This is what it's supposed to be. Who are you to come up and say that it didn't happen at all like that?
And Carl has a point. He says, we'd like to argue.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, sometimes the arguments are fun, and sometimes they're not so much. But remember, when I started off, I explained about uniformitarianism and catastrophism. And that's kind of part of it, because you could almost say that the concept of a trap eruption causing these extinction events, yeah, it's an event unto itself, but trap eruptions go on and on and on and on and on. They're very big, very long-lived. They produce a lot of lava. They produce gases, volcanic gases and stuff. And so then the gases get in the atmosphere and they mingle, and they start this ramping up to greenhouse stuff. And so you can really almost argue that what you have going with Deccan traps versus Chicxulub impactor is uniformitarianism versus catastrophism. So, and my take, I mean, from the moment my professors started talking about the whole uniformitarianism versus catastrophism debate, which again started in the Victorian era, or at least in the 1800s. I sat there and I looked at him and I was like, it's both. It's neither one. It's all of it together. You have some factors that are long period, long term, like erosional forces, and you have other things that are very abrupt and cataclysmic, like volcanic eruptions and earthquakes and asteroid impacts and things like that. So you can't get there from here on one or the other. You gotta have the horses riding in tandem in order to pull the cart. It's that simple, you know.
Yeah, Carl Whitzman added in, it's sort of like, you new guys need to get off my scientific lawn.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's been a huge debate going on for a couple decades now over in Egypt, because, you know, the Egyptologists have things all, and which is a branch of archaeology, have things all laid out about how they think that the Egyptian dynasties went and everything, and who built what and all this kind of stuff. And then a geologist comes in and he says, no, wait a minute. You've got something going on here with the Sphinx. There's signs of water erosion. That didn't happen during those time frames. It had to happen during this time frame.
Yeah.
They tried to
run him out on rails.
Yeah. Literally, they tried to exclude him from the site. I think they did exclude him from the site.
Yeah. A Facebook user.
You're going to have to answer that one, Joe. I don't know.
Just got in about 10 minutes ago. Will this be available later? Actually, right now, this is recorded and being broadcast directly to Stephanie's page. So just as soon as we click in, give it about 5 minutes, you can watch the whole presentation again on Stephanie Osborne's page. And then it will also be saved to YouTube and all our Facebook pages as replays. And I'm not going to delete them. So they will be up from now on for YouTube, Facebook, all that for the full HallowCon. And then it'll stay on Stephanie Osborne's page as long as she wants it there.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you, Joe Dog. I appreciate that.
All right. And Kimberly Tuttle just said that was absolutely fascinating.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
And
this was kind of right up my alley because I have studied asteroid impacts literally for decades. It's initially as something of a hobby, and then it kind of ramped up a little bit because people were very, very interested. I was working the space program during the Comet Shoemaker-Levy 9 impact of Jupiter, and so it kind of ramped up. I got a lot of interest there, and then at one point I wound up on an asteroid impact mitigation working group team. So I've done a lot of this sort of thing over the years. So this is kind of one of my little specialties.
And Bill Tuttle said, "Thank you so much. That was amazing." And of course, Carl jumped in like I'm not going to even attempt that
Velikovsky.
Idea planetary collisions were derided, but now we're thinking some of it wasn't all bunk.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lady named Susan Basham says, great presentation as always.
Hi, Susan.
And we are going to sort of wrap this one up because we got to cross the streams. You know what happens when you cross the streams? Everything dies. So unmute your mic, John.
That picture I showed earlier of the crater thing, that's on Google Maps.
Oh, really?
Just type in what is it? Chicxulub.
Okay.
Just type in Chicxulub crater, and that comes up in the pictures on the side of the Google Maps.
Okay.
All right. So, Stephanie, I got your website scrolling across the bottom of the screen. www.stephanie-osborne.com. Check it out. It's a great website. I'm going to run a couple commercials real quick. And then we're waiting on the next crew to come in at 7. Well, I haven't heard from him. Our 7 o'clock. Okay, so we're going to be filling time because our 7 o'clock panel has canceled.
Now, was that the one that I was supposed to be in?
No. That's at 8 o'clock. Are you talking about the Oracle or the table? Or Oracle's at 8.
Okay. Which is 7 my time. Okay.
7 your time. Just come back to this link you used right here.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to run a few commercials, jump streams a couple times, and then we'll be right back. And Carl says, very informative. Thanks. And Oracle is at 8. All right. Let's start running a few commercials. Stephanie, you can go ahead and leave studio if you wish. Or...
Okie dokie.
All right. Let me get that. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Now we're going to help pay a few bills. Thanks, everybody. And we'll see y'all in just a few minutes.
Dr. Megan McAllister was already pretty unusual when she encountered the man in the black suit that night. What Division 1 Agent Echo didn't know was that she was even more special, but he'd find out soon enough. Stephanie Osborne uses the urban legend of operatives who show at UFO sightings and make things disappear to craft her vision of the universe we don't know. The Division 1 series chronicles this via Recruit Omega and experienced partner Echo, as they handle everything from lost children to alien assassination and more. Book 1, Alpha and Omega, is available in print and ebook from your favorite bookseller.
Hey guys, it's Angel with Immortal Impressions doing the virtual thing for HallowCon 2020. Y'all can visit us at 4 Immortal Impressions on Facebook. Send us a private message. We can handle all of your ceramic, sewing, 3D printing, masks, costumes, and all the other goodies that we have, and we'll be glad to take care of you. Y'all have a good con and a good year.